Let's open that volume mixer. Make sure it's not too loud. There we go. All right. Show's up soon. Let me let people know that I'm streaming. Copy link address. At everyone. Stream. Okay. Bobro says, "Hey, how are you?" Good. How about you? Hope you're doing all right. More Hollow Knight. Woohoo. Yeah, it's been fun. Been having fun with it. I'm in Green Path. I think I'm supposed to go to the Crystal Caves or whatever. I think. Is there like... I mean, I beat that one boss, but I'm wondering if I'm supposed to go elsewhere. Probably elsewhere if I had to guess. Anyway. We're taking phone calls. 202-998-5218. Let me take a look at make sure that my setup is good. All right. Thank you for letting me know that the do not disturb is off. Okay. Settings. Audio. Speaker. Ringtone. Okay, that looks good. Yeah, I think we're good there. Bobro says, "I'm fantastic. Just been watching romance movies." Okay. You do you. Let me... Yeah, I think I'm supposed to go to... Well, we're going to be starting the show anyway. Wandering Robot Studios says, "Happy Day of Thor." Sick. I think I'm supposed to go to the Crystal Caves, if I'm not mistaken. Am I supposed to have been able to upgrade my needle by now? Or, like, do you think that... What do you guys think? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. All right, hold on a sec. We got to start the show. We got to start it. I'm starting too late. It's because I was debating people. Start the event. All right. Quit Discord. We could turn up Hollow Knight for a little bit. Open Discord. We are taking phone calls, 202-998-5218. So if you do want to call in, now's a good time to do it. Reconnect. Reconnecting. Where's the member stage? Where the heck did it go? Hey, Daniel, how you doing?
Hello, Amanda.
What's up?
I'm doing okay. I mean, as okay as it can be expected.
Yeah? Why?
The
What's
world
going
is
on?
full of... I don't know, man. It seems like the world has just gone crazy. Like everywhere, people just... They don't care. They don't care for anything except rich people, which is crazy. Like I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah, no, I don't get it
It's
either.
like what I've told you last time.
What's prompting
Would
this?
anybody think of the rich people? Like nobody cares about them. Nobody does. Yeah, I don't know. It's just so weird.
Are we talking about the big beautiful bill? Is that what this is?
I mean, I'm talking about that. I'm also talking about my own country, where we have a new prime minister, which had like a very bright idea of doing something that was never done in the history of the world. It's like a brand new idea. You might have heard about it. It's pretty esoteric, and it's like nobody really spoke about it at all. There's not like a million books about it in the world.
Yeah.
But he's trying a new thing, and that new thing that he's trying for the first time ever revolutionary is called austerity measures.
Oh yeah. That's never been tried, Daniel.
Yeah, never
Daniel,
been tried.
It's never been
Yes.
tried. I'm sure
Yes.
that, we just, listen, if we just get out of the way of the market, it will certainly get so much better, because that's what happens every time you allow the market to be the one that decides, right? The most efficient
what I
market
love?
solution.
Another thing
Why
that I
not just
love?
have lots and lots of Airbnbs everywhere? Like, I don't.
Well, yeah. Let's do it. Everything should be just gig economy, right? Like everything just gig economy. So how can we fuck up like the working person? Just just make them, they should own the means of production, but we should also benefit from the means of production
Yeah.
that they're using and they have to take care of. So it's just great. It's like amazing. I mean, the world is going great. I see you have Extremo McCool in your he's being racist. No, he stopped being racist on Discord, and now he's being racist on
chat.
YouTube, which is a fun thing to do. It's like, it's lovely, Extremo. It's like, I see you're just as bright as I knew you to be. Keep at it, buddy.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very, very weird people, just being themselves, which you said, weird. So I don't know, man. Did the big beautiful bill pass the
That's
house?
what Extremo says, but I'm not sure if that is the case.
I didn't see any news about it passing the house.
Let me look. Hold on. EP News. It would be Frontline. What is in Trump's big bill that passed Congress that will soon become law? Okay.
Yeah, well, it's great. It's absolutely
Awesome.
amazing.
Fabulous.
I mean,
yeah.
what can you do? What can you do? It's like everything is just amazing, right? Yeah, I mean, literally, right. What's happening right now is Republicans are getting away with murder scot-free, and people like Extremo, which are like just jubilant right now about this thing, they're gonna be fucked by this thing, and they're gonna be fucked in like 5 or 6 years, right? And when they're gonna be fucked by it in 5 or 6 years, they're gonna say, "Oh, it's the Democrat that's in charge right now that's to blame for it."
Well, tell you
Because
what.
they don't have the mental acuity to understand how things actually take effect like years down the line.
Well, tell you what. Why don't we
Just
read about it? Let's pause my game for a second and just read about it. Let's see what it says. All right. What's in Trump's big bill that passed Congress and will soon become law? Republicans muscled President Donald Trump's tax and spending cut bill through the House on Thursday, the final step necessary to get the bill to his desk by the GOP's self-imposed deadline by July 4th. At nearly 900 pages, the legislation is a sprawling collection of tax breaks, spending cuts, and other Republican priorities, including new money for the national defense and deportations. Democrats united against the legislation, but were powerless to stop it as long as Republicans stay united. The Senate passed the bill with Vice President J.D. Vance casting the tie-breaking vote. The House passed earlier iteration of the bill in May with just one vote to spare. It passed the final version 218 to 214. Here's the latest of what's on the bill. Tax cuts are the priority. Republicans say the bill is crucial because there would be a massive tax increase after December when tax breaks from Trump's first term expire. The legislation contains about $4.5 trillion in tax cuts. The existing tax rates and brackets would become permanent under this bill, solidifying the tax cuts approved in Trump's first term. It temporarily would add new tax deductions on tip, overtime, and auto loans. There's also a $6,000 deduction for older adults who earn no more than $75,000 a year, a nod to his pledge to end taxes on Social Security benefits. It would boost the $2,000 child tax credit to $2,200. Millions of families at lower income levels would not get full credit. A cap on the state and local deductions called SALT would be quadruple to $40,000 for 5 years. It's a provision important to New York and other high tax states, though the House wanted it to last for 10 years. There are scores of business-related tax cuts, including allowing businesses to immediately write off 100% of the cost of equipment and research. Proponents say that this will boost economic growth. The wealthiest households would see a $12,000 increase from the legislation, and the bill will cost the poorest people $1,600 a year, mainly due to reductions in Medicaid and food aid, according to the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office analysis of the House's version. Money for deportations, a border wall, and a golden dome. The bill would provide $350 billion for Trump's border and national security agenda, including the U.S.-Mexico border wall and 100,000 migrant detention facility beds. They're trying to build a prison. Migrant detention facility beds. And he aims to fulfill his promise on the largest mass deportation operation in U.S. history. Money would go for hiring 10,000 new immigrations and customs enforcement officers with $10,000 signing bonus and a surge of Border Patrol officers as well. The goal is to deport some 1 million people per year. To help pay for it, immigrants
Can
would
you
face
imagine this, Amanda? 1 million people a year.
Yeah, that's psychotic.
It's like,
that
I don't even
that.
understand it's like truly psychotic. This is something like insane levels of hate. Like, how much do these people hate other people for wanting to have better lives, right? That's how much they hate them. They just think it's like, no, we just need to deport like how much? 1 million people.
So
right?
to help
they're
pay
literally,
for it,
they're just making you poorer. They're cutting Medicaid from 14 million Americans.
Well, hold on. Let's finish the whole thing
to pay for that.
and then we're all on the same page, right? So to help pay for it, immigrants would face various new fees, including when seeking asylum protections. For the Pentagon, the bill would provide billions for shipbuilding, munition systems, and quality of life measures for servicemen and women, as well as $25 billion for the development of the Golden Dome missile defense system. The Defense Department would have $1 billion for border security. How to pay for it? Cuts to Medicaid and other programs. To help partly offset the lost tax revenue of new spending, Republicans aim to cut back Medicaid and food assistance for people below the poverty line. Republicans argue that they are trying to right-size the safety net programs for the population when they initially designed to serve mainly pregnant women, the disabled, and children, and root out what they describe as waste, fraud, and abuse. The package now includes an 80-hour-a-month work requirements for many adults receiving Medicaid and food stamps, including older people up to age 65. Parents of children 14 and older would have to meet the program's work requirements. That is wild, dude.
Yeah.
There is also a proposed $35 copayment that can be charged to a patient using Medicaid services. More than 71 million people rely on Medicaid, which expanded under Obama's Affordable Care Act, and 40 million use the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP benefits. Most already work, according to analysts. The Congressional Budget Office estimates that 11.8 million more Americans would become uninsured by 2034 if the bill became law, and 3 million more would not qualify for food stamps, also known as SNAP benefits. Republicans are looking to have states pick up some of the cost for SNAP benefits. Currently, the federal governments fund all benefit costs. Under the bill, states beginning in 2028 would be required to contribute a set percentage of their cost to the payment error rate, which exceeds 6%. Payment errors include both underpayments and overpayments. But the Senate bill temporarily delays the start date of the cost sharing of states which the highest SNAP error rates. Alaska has the highest error rate in the nation, nearly 25%, according to the Department of Agriculture data. Senator Lisa Murkowski, Republican in Alaska, had fought for the exception. She was a decisive vote in getting the bill through the Senate. A death sentence for clean energy. Republicans are proposing to dramatically roll back tax breaks designed to boost clean energy projects fueled by renewable sources such as energy and wind. The tax breaks were a central component of President Joe Biden's landmark bill focused on addressing climate change and lowering healthcare costs. Democratic Oregon Senator Ron Wyden went so far as to call the GOP provisions a death sentence for America wind and solar industries and inevitable hike in utility bills. A tax break for people who buy newer used electric vehicles would expire September 30th of this year, instead of at the end of 2032 under current law. Meanwhile, a tax credit of the production of critical materials will be expanded to the metallurgical coal and used in steelmaking. Trump savings accounts, and so much more. A number of extra provisions reflect GOP priorities. A bill creates a new children's savings program called Trump Accounts with a potential $1,000 deposit from the Treasury. The Senate provided $40 million to establish Trump's long-sought National Garden of American Heroes. There's a new excise tax on university endowments and a new tax of remittances or transfers of money that people in the U.S. send abroad. The tax is equal to 1% of the transfer. A $200 tax on gun silencers and short-barreled rifles and shotguns was eliminated. The provision of bars for 1-year medical payments for family planning providers that provide abortions, namely Planned Parenthood. Another section expands Radiation Exposure Compensation Act, a hard-fought provision from GOP Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri for those impacted by nuclear development and testing. Billions would go for the Artemis moon mission for the exploration of Mars, while $88 million is earmarked for the pandemic response of a county committee. Additionally, a provision would increase the nation's debt limit by $5 trillion to allow continued borrowing to pay for already accrued bills. The Senate overwhelmingly revolted against a proposal meant to deter states from regulating artificial intelligence. Republican governors across the country asked for the vote moratorium to be removed, and the Senate vote to do so was a resounding 99-1 vote. A provision was thrown in at the final hours, which will provide $10 billion annually to rural hospitals for 5 years, or $50 billion in total. The Senate bill has originally provided $25 billion for the program, but the number was up to win over a holdout of GOP senators and a coalition of House Republicans warning that reduced Medicaid provider taxes would hurt rural hospitals. The amended bill also stripped out a new tax on wind and social projects to use a certain percentage of components from China. What's the final cost? Altogether, the Congressional Budget Office projects that the bill would increase federal deficits over the next year by $3.3 trillion from 2025 to 2034. Or not, depending on how one does the math. What? Really? What? Anyway, Senate Republicans are proposing a unique strategy of not counting the existing tax breaks as the new cost because those breaks are already current policy. Republican senators say that Senate Budget Committee chairman has the authority to set the baseline for the preferred approach. Under the relative alternate Senate GOP view, the bill would reduce deficits by almost $500 billion over the coming decade. Democrats say that this is magic math that obscures the true costs of the tax breaks. Some nonpartisan groups worry about the country's fiscal trajectory are siding with Democrats in that regard. The committee responsible for federal budget says Senate Republicans were employing a accounting gimmick that would make Enron executives blush. All right.
Well,
so what do you think of that, Daniel?
I don't know, man, because I read a lot about this fucking bill, and I don't know. It to me is just like amazing. It's just amazing that Americans are not in arms right now.
By the way, we are taking calls.
This is like a takeover.
We are taking calls. You can call in the show 202-998-5218. If you want to agree, disagree, or maybe you want to bring up another point entirely, the liberal is right here. I'm ready to hear out your arguments. Do you have one person that would like to speak? Magus would like to speak. We're going to bring him in.
What's up?
Did you have anything that you wanted to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to remind you that Adolf Hitler wanted to deport 6 million Jews, but he found it quite out that deporting 6 million people is not really working out, and therefore they came in the end to a final solution for the problem.
Cool.
So they did have a solution after all. Okay.
I do have a random call, so I'm going to try.
As far as I remember, Trump wants to deport 11 million people.
Hold on. You're on the line with First Amender. Can you hear me okay? Hello?
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
How are you?
What did you want to talk about? And I'm doing good.
I think I want to talk about liberalism in general.
Okay.
Particularly why I disagree with it as an ideology.
Okay.
So, you're a self-described liberal, correct?
Sure am.
So, do you support liberal belief systems?
I'm sorry, what?
Why do you support liberalism?
I just think it leads to the best outcomes.
Would you say that there's an objective basis for liberalism, or would you say that you subjectively think it leads to the best outcome?
I mean, the way that I determine a better outcome is where people can live their life as they see fit.
So, what would you say your moral foundation for that is? Why do we consider?
Well, okay. I mean, like, that's a kind of a complicated question. I mean, I can answer you. I just think that that moral foundation is predicated on survival, and it's not just enough simply to survive, but to thrive among survive. And I think that the things that people value the most are the things that they internally perceive as like, oh, this would make me more satisfied. That would be an example of thriving. And I don't think you can actually pursue any of the things that you find valuable if you are not surviving. And so there's like a series of rules that I try to employ to ensure that people can thrive and survive. And that in turn ends up being the core tenets of liberalism.
I think that's an interesting answer. I would say, for the most part, that's true. But I would also say that liberalism doesn't necessarily always value life on like a basic level. I think a lot of the time it's more committed to ensuring quality of life rather than like as much life as possible. I think liberalism has led to a lot of deaths in terms of support for foreign wars, and I'd say it's led to a lot of deaths in terms of support for causes like human euthanasia.
I mean, you're not going to find me sitting here defending, the United States foreign policy. I mean, none of those things really have anything to do technically with liberalism.
Yeah, to an extent, yes. To an extent, no. I mean, I would say that there's a great deal of liberal ideology involved in the Ukraine war.
Liberal ideology regarding the Ukraine war? Yeah, I agree with you there.
Would you consider Biden to be a liberal president?
Yes, just about every president is a liberal president. Heck, even Trump is somewhat of a liberal himself.
Trump is.
What?
Yeah, I agree with you that Trump is a liberal. And I would say we live in a neoliberal world order. And my question for you is, do you think that's led to a successful world? Do you think having every president be a liberal?
Neoliberalism? No, I don't find it to be successful. No.
So would you consider yourself more of a classical liberal?
I'm a liberal. I don't know if I would go classical liberal because I adhere to rights, including LGBTQ rights, for example, which is not something a part of classical liberalism.
I suppose that's true. I don't think classical liberalism would necessarily oppose it if applied to the modern day. Do you think the future of the world will continue to be neoliberal, or do you think with phenomena like Trump?
No, I reject neoliberalism.
But do you think that the world will continue to operate on a neoliberal axis?
For the foreseeable future, yes, but in the long run, no. I don't think so at all.
And do you think a liberal, just a pure liberal world order would be preferable to any other?
As opposed to like what? Authoritarianism? Yeah.
What would you say about populism?
I think it curtails people's basic human rights and leads to worse outcomes.
I would agree with that. But do you think liberalism as an ideology is really concerned with human rights?
Yes.
I would have to say that It is not, actually. I would say that, liberalism is very closely linked with capitalism.
I mean, like, just straight from the get-go, liberalism argues for individual liberty, such as protection of personal freedom, speech, religion, expression, and privacy. Those are all personal liberties. Is it not?
Those are personal liberties, but a liberty and a right aren't necessarily linked.
Well, I'm saying, like, that's an individual liberty. Those are each individual liberties.
But are they human rights? I mean, certainly things like freedom of belief.
Yeah, I mean, like personal freedoms, like freedom of speech, religion, expression, privacy, right, inalienable right of life, liberty, property, pursuit, happiness. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I would say those are human rights. I think there's a lot of overlap between liberties and rights, but I think that there is a distinction between
Well,
the
yeah,
two.
I mean, we can talk about like the equality before the law. We could talk about consent to being governed, the rule of law. We can talk about whether or not that we have a limited government or a larger government that is controlled. We could talk about social welfare and whether or not we ought to do social welfare. A secular society as in a separation of church and state, right?
Yeah, wouldn't you say that social welfare is a human right?
I think that in order to reduce inequality and to ensure people live like a better life, especially those that are destitute, that they have a pathway out. And I think social safety nets are required to do that.
So I don't think that liberalism would support that because clearly
it does.
most
Modern liberalism does anyway.
I mean, yeah, socialism, of course, or like social liberalism does support that. But I think liberalism is like very inherently connected to capitalism, which does not necessarily support healthcare systems. Like the United States.
Like we can look at, like, for example, Nordic model countries that are certainly capitalist in the sense that they have the private ownership of the means of production with significant social safety nets, which I believe that results into the best outcome. And so I go in favor of that.
But would you say that the Nordic model was actually a good model? Because I don't think the Nordic model could exist if the Nordics existed in isolation. I think it's based on a lot of exploitation of the third world and a lot of oil sales.
Exploitation of the third world happens regardless of whether or not that you have liberalism or socialism.
I mean, there are alternatives to socialism and liberalism.
Like what? Anarchism?
I mean, I would actually argue that liberalism is anarchism because liberalism puts such an emphasis on liberty and like holds liberty to be the highest form of good. And I think the logical extension of that is that any form of government is going to limit your liberty.
Are you an anarchist?
No, I'm very much so not an anarchist.
So what are you?
But I wouldn't say I necessarily adhere to like an orthodox ideology because I think like being too rigid or dogmatic with political ideology can just like distract from having like an actual pragmatic or dynamic view of politics. But I would say maybe person dignity theory, if you've heard of it.
Okay. I mean, aren't you doing that right now?
No. I mean, I would reject liberalism. I would reject most ideologies.
Okay. I mean, I just look at what leads to a beneficial. I would reject a concept if it led to worse outcomes. And judging by the ideas and tried and true, I believe when you test it in reality, that it does result in beneficial outcomes.
And not for everyone. Certainly not for everyone.
That's true in any system. The question is whether or not that you can reduce it to a substantial degree or if it reduces it more than other systems. And I believe liberalism meets that criteria.
I mean, that's true. There are many systems that haven't been tested.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine at bare minimum, if you plan on testing any system, that you ensure damn well that it works prior to testing it on an entire society. It would be severely irresponsible to say try, anarchism when you're not even sure if it works.
Do you think that the United States or France was responsible with testing liberalism and turning the countries into an experiment, like really spearheading liberalism on a global scale?
Was it responsible for that? I don't know. That's a complicated question. Maybe like philosophers tested it.
Interesting. Wouldn't you say that overall the Western world was much more peaceful and stable before liberal ideology originated?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, there's the Napoleonic Wars, there's World War One. I mean, I think that, the Revolutionary War, the French Revolution, all of that is a result of liberalism challenging the status quo. And was that really necessary?
Repeat that?
I would say that liberalism is the cause of the Napoleonic Wars, cause of the American Revolution, cause of the French Revolution, cause of World War One. Do you really think that it was worth destroying the balance of power, the status quo, the relatively peaceful existence between these countries for liberalism?
I would say so. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in comparison to the past, for sure. Because in the past, I mean, there were just consistent religious wars, fights over ideology were very commonplace.
I mean,
as opposed to having a separation of church and state and realizing that it's probably better to just get along with your neighbor than it is to fight, I guess.
Well, I think that nothing has actually changed in that regard.
No, I completely disagree. I mean, you have the United Nations, the Geneva Convention. No, things have changed. Big time.
I mean, sure, in American society, we don't have religious or war on our own borders. But I mean, if you look in the Middle East, we have...
Yeah, and they don't have a liberal society. They have a theocratic society. That's a great example. Yeah, I agree with you.
I know, but we're involved in these wars in the Middle East for ideological reasons.
I mean, if you're asking whether or not that we should have a Israeli ethno-state, you'll find me in perfect agreement with you. Yeah, I don't believe that we should be involved in that.
Would you disagree when I say that liberalism is a religion?
No, I would. I'm sorry. I would disagree with that. Is what I was trying to tell you.
So I think if you are to look at the basis, the foundation that all religions share, isn't necessarily that they believe in a deity, but it's that they believe in a cosmological order, a moral system of how humans should live and how they're supposed to live. And I would say that a lot of political ideologies, such as liberalism, satisfy that criteria.
I don't know where you're going with this, I guess. I'm not sure what you're talking about at this point.
What I'm basically saying is that I think liberalism failed to actually make any meaningful change in the world. I don't think the way humanity operates is actually significantly better than it was several hundred years ago. I think we just have political...
fundamentally.
So would you say liberalism, the world order we live in, would you say that this is a successful world order? This is the ideal?
I would say that this is way more peaceful than it was in the past, yeah.
But is this ideal?
I mean, it's better. I don't know if it's the best system. I mean, I'm saying that I don't have any evidence of a better system.
Yeah, I mean, what would you say about monarchism?
I think it leads to worse outcomes.
For who?
For everyone.
Interesting. I mean, wouldn't you say liberalism is really the root of inequality in the world? Because if you're allowing...
I mean, as opposed to what? Monarchism? Monarchism is going to be much worse in terms of inequality than liberalism. I'm sorry, it's not even close. Especially if you consider a modern liberal understanding such as social safety nets.
I mean, I don't think social safety nets are actually really a tenet of liberalism. I would say they're actually.
You can have modern liberal values argue for social safety nets. This is why I have a distinction between classical liberalism and liberalism.
I mean, liberalism really is just the idea that freedom is good, and I would say a lot of liberals think taxes are theft. That's a big slogan liberals like.
No,
to get
that's a libertarian position, not a liberal one. Liberals believe in a consent to being governed, and so there is an inherent consent to that, which would include taxes.
Interesting. I mean, I definitely believe in consent to being governed, but I don't know if liberalism necessarily does.
It does. It has a consent to be just like Google liberalism, consent to being governed. Like that's a core tenet of liberalism.
Liberalism also posits though that a minority of the population, if like a specific group doesn't consent to being governed, they have a right to break away, which is not democratic. Like if you look at the American Revolution, the colonists were a very small portion of the total British imperial population, but according to liberalism, it was acceptable for them to start a war to break away.
I mean, that's a complicated discussion, but I'm not sure where you want to go with that.
Would you say that the American Revolution was morally justified?
Questionable. It depends. Like, do I believe Tories members should have been tarred and feathered? No. Do I believe that we should have burned down the houses of Tories members? No. Did it end up resulting in the society that we live in today? Yeah.
Yeah, I would say the outcome of the American Revolution was good, but I don't think it was justified at the time. I think it was very much so, spearheaded by an emerging bourgeoisie that was in conflict with the existing aristocracy.
Okay.
And I would say liberalism has really always been spearheaded by like a bourgeoisie and upper middle class and it's very closely linked with capitalism. They're based on the same idea of everybody is legally equal, but there's not really economic equality. It's, I would say liberalism isn't necessarily left-wing. I'd say it's center-left or even center because it allows hierarchical societies to develop through economics.
I still don't really understand where you're coming at with this.
So if we look at liberalism and its economic policies, there's a lot of economic freedom. You can spend your money how you want for the most part, and taxes aren't excessive. And, you can start your own business. The business can do what it wants within reason. This leads to things like colonialism, neo-colonialism, exploitation of the second and third world. Would you disagree with that?
Yeah, I'm still lost as to like where you're going with this.
Where I'm going with this is that I think liberalism has failed our world. I don't think it's made things better.
I mean, in terms of preserving people's rights, I think it has made things a lot better. The very fact that we can sit here talking about it and criticizing it would be a really good example of that. In the past, if you criticize the king, well, off with your head.
To a degree, that's true. Liberalism has definitely benefited first world countries like the United States, but so did monarchism and colonialism. The home state population.
Not really. Most people were just kind of subsistence farmers for like a really long time, for like hundreds and hundreds of years under monarchism.
That's true, but
there was no incentive for anybody to even like improve their quality surroundings outside of what was required of them as a serf.
I mean, yes, but are things fundamentally different now? Is, being a fast food worker your whole life really that different from being an agrarian serf?
Yes, it's very different.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it better?
Yeah.
Preferable?
Yeah. Yes. 100%. Are you kidding? Everybody being farmers as opposed to like some people like working fast food. Yeah. And you know what's great is like you get to like stop working and you go home after an 8-hour shift and then you get to enjoy the rest of your day. Yeah. That wasn't a thing as a farmer. Yeah. You're often kind of like stuck consistently farming in order to like survive. Yeah. Yeah. That's not a better society. Why do you think we pulled away from farming so much? It was a nightmare. Everybody's waking moment was spent farming.
Okay. I suppose you hate farming.
No, it's not that I hate farm. I mean, obviously we need farming in order to survive. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's like this can be done more efficiently. Not everybody has to farm, right? Like maybe people want to be a musician or people want to be an artist. People want to, be a manager and run their own business. Maybe, there's more to life than just farming.
I mean, is there? Because,
yeah.
I mean, there's definitely more, but
you think there's not more to life than farming?
People are definitely happier with rural, natural lifestyles. I mean, the constant.
Where did you get that?
Look, you can look at the surveys. Rural populations are happier than urban populations. People with
I think that is entirely dependent on the person. And you've always heard it's always greener on that life is always greener on the other side. I swear to God, these people who are like live their life in like a suburb or in the city or whatever, sit there and opine about what it would be like to till your own land and have a, like it's almost like they're playing too much Stardew Valley. And then when it comes to actually doing it, it turns out it's fucking backbreaking work. It sucks. It's not fun. You're spending often 16, 17 hours a day doing manual labor for day in, day out, winter, rain, shine, whenever, dude. Whatever hobby you have, throw that out the window, dude. You're a farmer now.
I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with the argument that medieval Europe had 150 holidays per year, which is a lot more than modern society does. Like, Trump recently announced how excited he is to make World War I.
You don't get off on a holiday if you're a farmer. You're a farmer. You need to work.
I mean, you can take a day off if you're a farmer. Water, like.
I suppose so, but then your crop could die, and then you die.
I mean, yes, but
so some days you literally can't. But guess what? If for whatever reason, I need to take a sick day, or if I want to go on vacation, I could just do that. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, but you only have.
And also, by the way, I'm only working 8 hours a day, and I'm not waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning to do it.
Are you satisfied with your job?
Yeah, it's pretty satisfying, pretty chill. I don't have to work that. I'll be honest. I'm probably not a super great example because I really just don't have to work that hard to do my job, and it's great. Right. I work from home. I just do computer work for people. And then as soon as it hits 5 o'clock, I go bye. And then I go do whatever I want. It's really chill. It's one of the most chill things I could ever do.
But could an American liberal society, the jobs like that, exist without exploitative labor in the third world?
Sure. I mean, if we can find ways to go about it. Yeah. I mean, I'm not in favor of exploiting labor. I think that there needs to be like a basic human rights, which would include worker rights. So like, and I believe that ought be extended to the third world, which would actually be an increase of modern liberalism instead of a decrease.
Really? Because I would say that third world is actually a perfect example of liberalism. Because Western corporations and Western investors are at liberty. They're completely free to do what they please there.
No, that would be a semblance of anarchy, if anything, because you're talking about a society where, hey, it's all right to subjugate a group of people, right? They don't
And
have
where's the
human
line?
rights. They can't address their grievances, right? They don't have a court to go to. Take, for example, you can have Nestle Corporation or Coca-Cola decide that, hey, we're just going to lower the water table and screw you.
And where's the line between liberalism and anarchism?
One of them has like a functional government that says no to corporations because it's destroying people's human rights.
Yeah, but here's the thing, is that the core tenet of liberalism is that liberty is in and of itself good. And the existence of a government, no matter how many rights it affords you, no matter how much freedom it affords you, is always going to be trampling on your liberty.
You're misinterpreting the difference between right-wing libertarianism and liberalism.
I don't think I am, actually.
You are.
They
Because
even come from the same-
liberals argue for consent to being governed. I've already said this.
So do libertarians. Libertarians are not anarchists.
But that's correct. But there's a lot of right-wing anarchists,
Yeah, but
right,
certainly
which
there-
argue for like the weird kind of like it's almost like a Mad Max or a the Banana Republic kind of thought process, right? Which is not liberalism. It's literally the antithesis of it. If anything, it just causes a corporate military state. That's what it causes. This is not liberalism. It just is the right to subjugate a group of people, even if it's the majority.
Yeah, and liberalism is all about the right to do what you want. So
No, because
got
I
the
believe in
right-
a consent to being governed. No, you don't have a right. There's things such as like social contracts. Like, what do you mean?
what if the people do not consent to being governed?
Then it wouldn't be liberalism. It would be something else.
So by that logic, then liberalism can't even exist. If
What?
if liberalism supports freedom of belief, but it doesn't support like overturning the existence of government, then really it doesn't support freedom of belief. I don't think your argument is sensible.
Again,
I think-
you're arguing a right-wing libertarian idea of liberalism, not liberalism. Like, if you want to talk about liberalism, I'll talk to you about liberalism, but you're like trying to basically make it into something that it's not. It's going to argue for individual liberty, equality before the law, consent to being governed. It's going to argue for, a rule of law applied fairly and equally. It's going to be referring to, social welfare and justice under modern liberalism. And I suppose if you're a classical liberal, you probably favor a free market economy. I don't agree with the free market economy, by the way. I believe that there needs to be regulations. But social welfare and justice work well within liberalism, within a modern sense of liberalism, secular society of separation of church and state, tolerance and pluralism and progress and reform. Yeah.
How different would you say right-wing libertarianism actually is from liberalism?
Very.
So when you take into consideration the full range of the political compass, you would say they're very different?
Yeah, I mean, it's the difference between Joe Biden and John McAfee.
Interesting.
It's a big difference. It's not a tiny piece. It's like, hey, everybody, cocaine and hookers. Also, I'm going to kill my neighbor because they killed my dog with my private security force to, I don't know, Joe Biden.
I mean, liberalism
big difference.
allows private security forces, though, and liberalism oftentimes advocates drug legalization.
Yeah, but you don't have a right with a private security force to like start killing people just because you have the money to do it. You go to jail for that in the modern liberal system.
Do you go to jail for that?
For killing somebody with your private security force? Yeah.
What does our military do?
What does the military do? I suppose they kill people on the behalf of the United States government.
And who does the United States government serve?
The people.
Was it? Is the U.S. a democracy?
Yes.
It's not. It's a democratic republic.
That's literally a democracy.
No, it's a republic with democratic
You need to look up what a constitutional republic is. That's part of a democracy. That's literally a democracy.
Not a democracy. There's definitely democratic elements. But
can you just please Google it and stop just talking as if you know what you're talking about? I know what I am talking about here. A constitutional republic is 100% a democracy. That is a form of democracy. I'll do it for you.
It's a form, but it's not the pure form. Is the United States Athens, Greece?
Hold on.
I mean, we can look it up, but...
Okay. So I'll provide it right here so you can see for yourself. I hate it when people bring this up because it should be pretty obvious, but for a lot of people, it's not obvious. So constitutional republic is a governing state where the chief executive and representatives are elected and the rules are set down in a written constitution. The head of the state, president, and other representatives are elected, but they do not have uncontrolled power. What their power is limited to is written in the Constitution. If there's a dispute about what the Constitution means, then it is decided by a court system that is independent from the representatives. In recent public discourse, the constitutional republic is sometimes used in contrast with the term democracy. In fact, a constitutional republic is a form of representative democracy, not a direct democracy.
So the source you pulled
It is
up,
a representative democracy. It is a democracy.
So the source you pulled up says that a constitutional republic is not a democracy.
Wrong.
No, it's
If
it's
you
right in front of
said
you.
that it is not a direct democracy, I wouldn't disagree with you, but it is a democracy.
It's a form of democracy.
Dude, I showed you the evidence. You need to either acknowledge this or I don't know. To me, it would be obvious that you're just being pedantic at this point. I showed you the evidence.
I am being pedantic, actually, because
All right.
Well, yes, in a colloquial sense,
Well, I'm going to give you the last word and let you be pedantic. Go ahead. That'll be it for me.
The United States is not a pure democracy, and if it was, a lot of the foreign wars we support never would have happened. People did not support it. Lobbyists supported it, and there's a huge lobbyist influence in our government. And that's not helping anyone. That's not freeing anyone. But that is what liberalism is.
All right. Good talk.
All right. Thank you. I do think you changed some of my opinions. I think it's interesting.
All right. Fair enough.
All right. Have a good day.
Hold on a sec.
I always wondered about this, Amanda. Why do people have a problem, like understanding like the concepts of like republic, democracy? Because I
I don't
always got
understand.
this,
Like, I bring
especially
up
from
like constitutional
right-wingers.
republic, and he's like, "It's not a democracy." I'm like, "Yes, it is." Here's an example. I was telling you, it is. It literally is a democracy. And then I bring it up,
Well, I mean,
and then they said, "Oh,
yeah.
it's not that. It's not a direct democracy." He had to change the goal. I'm like, okay, so it is true that it is a democracy, right? And he says, it said right there that it was not a democracy. I'm like, no, it literally
Well,
said that it was. I'm
I
like,
love
are you
the
being,
answer.
are you being, I'm like, are you just being a pedant? Are you just being pedantic? And his answer is,
I mean,
unironically,
the answer was-
yeah, I'm being a pedant. And I'm like, all right, pedant, we gotta, that's it, dude, we're done. Like, you're just here you're arguing
No,
to
you
argue.
probably missed it.
Huh?
But he said it's like, no, it's not a democracy. It's a type of democracy, which is like saying it's like, that's not a cake. That's a type of cake, which is like, so it's a cake. So what do you mean? It's like, that's what it literally is. there's no like ideal form of a cake, you know, like every cake is a type of cake.
I interrupted Magus, so we're going to bring in Magus for a second because they wanted to talk. What's up, Magus?
Yeah, I just wanted to say before, like when we get interrupted, I think it's kind of ridiculous to deport so many people. That's not working out. It's just not working out. I mean, even Hitler failed, and he had a whole nation backing him completely.
Okay. Yeah.
And beside of that, I wanted to say like that your liberation, as the other dude mentioned, I think actually it was a genius act. I mean, like, England came out from a really expensive war they had in India at this time. Like, they were at their lowest point of their military forces because of this really, really expensive war they had over there. It was a proxy war with France, and both sides were investing heavily into to their forces, which were fighting the war against each other. It was literally like Indian people fighting Indian people, but some of in representation of France, the others in representation of England. It's quite interesting when you're reading about that war. It led in the end to like that both were wearing the uniforms of the nations we were fighting. They literally had in the end like flags of the nations and everything. It was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But like, and then like when I mean, it was clear England was then unreasonably really raising taxes everywhere where they had colonies, since like they had to refund their whole military after that. And it was the perfect time to like liberate and the perfect time to like to become an own nation. There is no better time for that.
Okay.
I think it was to choose that moment.
All right. Did you? I'm sorry. I'll be honest. I don't have a whole lot to say about that. But sure.
See, you did quite well when you liberated from England.
Well, I'd say so. The United States became the global superpower of the world. I mean, whether or not that's a good thing, that's beside the point.
Not only that, you saved 2 times your former colony masters their asses.
I suppose so.
Well, to be honest, in World War I, there were no good guys, so I don't necessarily think they saved anybody.
I never said that they were good guys. I just said they saved the former colony masters' asses.
That is true. So I guess it was a good move on England's side then, right? It's like they created the means for their own salvation.
What irony,
right?
huh?
You could say it like that, right?
The First World War is to me something so ridiculous.
We're getting a phone call. I'm gonna move you back to the stage.
Yeah.
You're on the line with First Amender.
What's going on? How are you?
Not much. What do you want to talk about?
I want to debate you on your first hot thing on the hot take list. Trans women are women and trans men are men. Are you down to debate that, or would you prefer to talk about something else?
Sure, we can talk about that.
All right. So, when you say trans women or I guess when you say trans women, what exactly are you referring to?
Their gender is separate from their sex. Their gender is woman. They are biologically a man.
Okay, so could I just rephrase this just so we know what we're talking about? That people who identify as women are women. Is it fair to recharacterize what you said as that?
By gender? Yeah, trans women are women.
Yeah, so I'm saying, in your opinion, is trans women or women, is that an equivalent statement to people who identify as women or women?
No. Because you're kind of you're kind of divorcing the concept of gender.
Explain.
There's an internal sense of how you feel your sex is, and it is dictated often by hormones as well as how you are born. Your genetics is a huge imperative of how you feel internally.
Okay. So I guess I was trying to. So you would agree with me that gender is something that is socially constructed, that exists.
I believe there's
separately from
aspects of
biology.
gender that are socially constructed.
Okay, so what is the difference between sex and gender in your opinion?
Sex is going to be things like your XX chromosomes, XY chromosomes, large gametes, small gametes, secondary sex characteristics, primary sex characteristics, typical of XX or XY chromosomes. That would be sex. And gender is going to be an internal sense of what you feel your sex is. It could also be norms dictated by society, which may be biologically motivated or not.
Okay, I guess I'm a little confused because it sounds like, at least with your definition of sex, it sounds like what you're saying is that is the biological side of what we're talking about, right? Is that
Yes.
fair?
To some extent, yes.
Okay, because it seems like there's kind of two, and I don't want to use the word sex and I don't want to use the word gender because it sounds like sex and
You don't want to
gender are
use the
kind of
word
two
sex
sides.
and gender to talk about trans people?
Well, no, because what I'm getting at is that sex and gender, it sounds like from hearing you talk about it, they're kind of two aspects of the same thing. Do you know what I'm saying?
I mean, gender is dictated by your biology. So in that sense, it would be predicated on the same thing. But
though?
sex and gender are two separate things in the sense that it is describing two different phenomenon, distinct.
Yeah. Okay. So you said that gender is. I forget the word exactly. You said gender is like informed by your biology or something like that.
Yeah, I believe that it's neurochemically constructed.
Okay. So would it be possible for a person who is biologically male, right? They have the male reproductive organs, the chromosomal configuration you typically find in men, all that stuff, who has the neurobiology that you would also find in men, right?
Uh-huh.
Like a quote unquote male brain, whatever that means.
Yeah.
Is it possible for that person to feel like a woman and identify as a woman and operate in society as a woman?
I suppose so, but that would be very rare.
Well, I didn't ask if it was rare. I asked if it was possible because
Maybe,
Yeah.
given your strict hypothetical, I suppose so.
yeah. So that person in that situation would be a transgender woman, right?
Yes, if they identified that way.
Okay, yeah. So everything about their biology, everything about anything that's innately, physically part of them, would be quote unquote male, right? Would be how we, typically, their sex would be male, right? But their gender in that situation would be female, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess you're agreeing with me then that gender is social and sex is biological,
No.
right? Okay. How do you square that with what you just said, that someone who is completely 100% male biologically can still
Well,
be
because
a
you
woman
provided a
as far as the
hypothetical
gender
that likely doesn't even exist in reality. I'm not actually aware of any case where someone does not exhibit transgender traits that cannot be shown in the biology. I think over when there was discussing the subcortical volumes of the brain, they found that 98% of the self-reported transgender were possessed these subcortical volumes in the brain. I mean, maybe it's possible that you have that extra 2% where it's entirely social and it has no predication in the biology. But then it comes into the question, okay, well, what is their qualia? How can we possibly say that, what they're experiencing isn't anywhere valid? Of course, it could be valid. Ultimately, when it comes to any kind of psychological condition, that you kind of have to take a person's word for it into account.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and that's kind of what I was getting at. Is that, I mean, I think, and this isn't the point I'm trying to make. I'm trying to get this out of the way because what I'm going to say after this relies on this. That when we're talking about gender and we're talking about respecting people's gender identities, you know, if we're going to take gender identities to be a real thing, it's not like when someone identifies as a woman, you ask to see their reproductive system or you ask to like get a chromosomal test on them or something.
Yep.
And you, of course, you don't ask to see like a brain scan of them, right? Like you don't ask what levels of certain hormones. Like, so because the physical, and everything I just said would be a physical characteristic, right? Because the physical characteristics do not inform how we gender someone, to me, that points to gender being social and sex being biological, no?
Well, that would be under the assumption that the biology doesn't infer the way somebody feels internally, which it does.
Well, no, it does, and that's why over 99% of people identify with the sex they were born with, right? But like,
yes,
there's
and then also the transgender people, when we
about.
analyze their brain, they literally have physically different brain morphology.
Well, yeah, but again, just like I can say, like if I were to say right now, you know, because over 99% of people, not transgender people, just people, right? Because over 99% of people identify with the sex they were born with, we shouldn't really talk about the other 1% because they're not important.
I never
that would be a
said
false...
that. I would apply a person's qualia into account.
No, but I'm saying that if you're agreeing with me, right, that if every single part of someone's biology, right, from their neuro whatever in their brain to their genitals to the reproductive system to their chromosomes, everything else, right, if everything about that person is a certain sex or gender or whatever, right, if everything about that person is male, but they identify as a woman and they, you know, go through society as a woman, you would say that that person's a woman, correct?
Yeah, that's their internal qualia. I have no way of refuting their qualia. I don't know what they're going through.
Their qualia? What's that word you said? Qualia? I don't know what that is.
It's an internal sense. It can only really be. Think about it this way: like I could sit here and I can talk to you about, say, actually, you know what? Probably better. I can describe to you what echolocation is, right? We can talk about the wavelengths. We can have a giant book talking about echolocation and its functionality. We can talk about bats and how they use echolocation. We can talk about all of that. Sure. But what it is like to experience echolocation is not possible for a human. Humans don't have echolocation powers. We don't have that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you can, I don't know, yell in a square room or something. But like the bat's experience of echolocation is likely different from the experience of us trying to echolocate. And so that experience, that like it's like this internal perception of how things are. Nobody knows how you think or how you feel when you think something. You just kind of tell people, oh, I feel this way. And then that's it.
Sure.
Right. We kind of take their word for it. We don't like question whether or not that like it's valid or, you know what I mean? Like it has, like if someone has depression, they tell you I have depression. I just take their word for it. You know, like you don't go like, no, you don't. You're just sad. Like, you see what I mean? Like, what do you know what they're going through?
Yeah, but at the end of the day, the issue of gendering people, you know, in a certain way, it's not based on how they feel. It's based on how they present.
No, it is based on how they feel.
Well, no, it's not, because I could. So I'm a dude,
if I
right?
never ever change the way I look, but I feel a specific way, by your light, you would say that that person's not trans. They have to like be like in a dress or whatever and wear makeup if they're
you have to be
born
performing as a woman to be a woman, yeah.
Oh,
like for example, right? for example, right, I'm a dude, right? I'm biologically a dude, I identify as a dude. I'm male as far as any biological metric or social metric. I'm a dude, right? If I feel
But
like
no,
a woman,
wait, I don't believe you.
okay, that's valid. Here's the thing though, is that if I
How do
if
I
feel
know
like
that you're a
woman,
dude?
right? Here, just hold on. If I feel like a woman, right? I don't express this to anyone, but like in my soul, right? I feel like a woman, and like that's just how I am, right? In no way, regardless of political ideology, regardless of anything else, right? In no way am I a woman in any sense of the word, because there's no
By sex.
thing. I'm sorry?
By sex.
By sex or by gender, because in no way does anyone in no way does anything outside of my brain acknowledge that I'm a woman, right?
Sure, but we're referring to gender. And so it wouldn't necessarily be something that can be exhibited in, say, you know, secondary sex characteristics.
I mean, it sounds like, even though you kind of had a hard time saying it, it sounds like we agreed that gender is social, because I already gave
There
you
are
the example
aspects
of
of gender that are certainly social, such as drinking a cosmopolitan or wearing dresses is an entirely social thing. It has nothing to do with any biology. Right? There's an aspect of gender that is exhibited in a cultural way. And that part is social. But I think that like the subcortical volumes of your brain that are differently shaped, which, you know, is a result of hormones that were present at an embryonic stage that would not typically be present. That would be a biological imperative, not a social imperative.
Okay, but that thing you just said with the volumes of things in your brain, that's not how we as a society determine who's a woman and who's a man.
No,
like,
but
not, like,
a person's
people who believe in
behavior
transgenderism
changes
stuff.
because of that.
Your behavior changes because of the things in your brain. Okay, that doesn't really have to do with what I was talking about, though.
Well, it means
Because,
it's
like I said,
biologically
a person
based.
who-
It has a basis in biology.
It's biologically informed. It's not biologically based. No. Like, I mean, I feel like we're talking in circles, but like, yeah, like a person who identifies.
What does it mean to be biologically informed versus biologically based?
Biologically informed means there's biological influences on it, but the biology isn't the end-all be-all of it. Biologically based means that biology is the end-all be-all of it. So, for example...
So, okay, if someone is a redhead, is that biologically based or is that biologically informed?
Is what? You said something about a redhead. I didn't get
If someone is a redhead, is that biologically based or is that biologically informed?
Both? I don't know.
No, it's definitely biologically based. I don't know. What is the distinction? I mean, who cares about this distinction? It's not relevant.
Well, no, it is. So, for example, if someone, which again, most of these people are men, right? If someone has a bunch of testosterone running through their body, like way more than a woman, like a biological woman would have, right? That person is more likely to exhibit signs we would traditionally characterize as masculine, right?
Yeah.
Like they're probably going to be a little more likely to be aggressive. Their voice is going to be deeper, like all this stuff, right?
Okay.
But just because they have that biology, right? Just because they have this testosterone, as like politically correct gender ideology would have it, like that biology does not determine if they're a dude or a woman, right?
Yeah, you
Like
have
that
to kind of
biology-
ask them.
I'm sorry?
You have to ask them how they feel.
Yeah, which doesn't necessarily correspond to their biology, right?
Well, it kind of does, though. Kind of how you
No.
just admitted that your gender does correspond to your biology in the sense that most people are cisgendered. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, most, but we're not, like, again, we wouldn't look at a person who's biologically male. I mean, at least if we're assuming the transgenderism
What?
is a
You wouldn't
legitimate
look at
thing.
somebody... No. Did you realize the error in your sentence? Were you going to
No.
say somebody who's biologically male that we assume that they are cisgendered, or that we assume that they are male? Because we definitely do that.
I'm saying if we're taking transgenderism to be a legitimate thing, we don't necessarily do that, right?
Are you saying transgenderism is not a legitimate thing?
I mean, that's beside the point, but yeah, that is my position.
Your thought is that transgenderism is not real.
Well, I mean, it's real. Like, I mean, it's something people do, so obviously it's real in that sense, but it's not something we should respect as a society, no? Which, like, I feel like we kind of went on a tangent, but yeah.
So, okay. I just want to be clear, because I've read a lot of different fields of study specifically around trans people. The psychology acknowledges trans people. Psychiatry also acknowledges the existence of trans people. Biology acknowledges the existence of trans people. Neuroscience also acknowledges the existence of trans people. Medicine acknowledges the existence of trans people. Endocrinology acknowledges the existence of trans people. Epidemiology acknowledges the existence of trans people. Sociology acknowledges the existence of trans people. And then the consensus among major scientific and medical bodies, from the American Medical Association to the American Psychiatric Association, the American Psychological Association, the Endocrine Society, the World Health Organization, and the American Academy of Pediatrics, all of them are wrong.
I wouldn't say they're wrong, but it's a social
Well, I mean,
thing,
you
so we
said
don't
that
need to
it's
listen
not
to it.
a real thing, right? When all
It's
of
a
those
social
fields of
phenomenon.
study acknowledge the existence of trans people entirely from completely separate viewpoints, right? From, like, if I was talking about the endocrinology versus the neuroscience behind it. Those are two completely separate fields of study. They're able to exhibit the existence of trans people.
That literally makes absolutely no sense.
Okay,
Because
well,
yeah.
let me break it down for you.
Okay.
Endocrinologically speaking, there is hormone replacement therapy, which is considered safe and effective as well as well studied for treating gender dysphoria. The WPATH, or the World Professional Association of Transgender Health, and the Endocrine Society have published evidence-based guidelines regarding trans healthcare. Access to gender-affirming and medical care significantly improves quality of life and reduces suicidality in trans individuals, correct? That's a thing. That's an endocrinology, right? And then we have what? The neuroscience, where we can observe that there are certain neuroimaging studies that have shown trans people's brains often resembles the structure or connectivity patterns more typical to that of their identified gender than their assigned sex at birth, or at least a different brain morphology in comparison. There's also prenatal hormone exposure, which influences gender identity development though with that being said, that's still like ongoing research. There also appears to be some biological diversity in sex characteristics, which demonstrates that sex itself is not strictly binary. For example, with intersex people, challenging a simplistic assumption about gender. And so these are two completely separate fields of study, studying completely separate portions of the brain. And I just want to be clear. They're bullshit.
They're not bullshit. Society's interpretation of them is bullshit, yeah. Like, for example, with
So then
what
what exactly is this? You said that you don't acknowledge the existence of trans people.
Yeah.
So what are they observing? What are these
Yeah,
phenomenon?
Okay. So it's what you said about hormone treatment, right? That if a kid has, or not a kid, if someone has, I guess what we'd call gender dysphoria, that if you give them hormones, I'm not sure if it's their quality of life or their happiness or whatever, but their condition will improve, right? That's what you just said. Just because their condition improves in that, or if like studies say that their condition improves, that does not mean that as a society we need to redefine what a woman is. Like that doesn't follow from what you just
No,
said.
it's not redefining what a woman is. It's just adding a definition to it. It's understanding the difference between sex and gender. The definition of woman doesn't change. It's the same thing. You could say adult human female, and that doesn't remove transgender individuals, right? Nor does it remove the concept of adult human female. Like, it's still a thing.
I never said anything about adult human female, so that's...
Well, I'm saying, like, as an example, like, it's not revoking the term woman.
Well, it kind of is, though, because...
I said bat earlier, right? You remember that? Where I said bat? I mean, was I really talking about the animal, or was I talking about the object that is used for the sport and hitting a ball around? Was that it? Was that what I was talking about? Or was I talking about the mammal? You're aware that words can have different meanings, right?
Sure.
Yeah, and it doesn't revoke the definition of something. It's just, yeah, and this.
Well, no, not really, because before...
Yeah, really. That's what that is.
Before transgenderism made its way into the public, the public sphere...
when do you think transgenderism made its way? Like, do you think it was discovered?
It was made up. It wasn't discovered.
Really?
But it was... yeah.
So, I think it was in the late 1800s when there were people that realized that there were roosters that would not have their gonads intact and found that they attributed hen-like characteristics. That's one thing. Another example is they were able to observe rats that possessed male typical behaviors and female typical behaviors. Female typical behaviors is in terms of a mating, that there were what's called lordosis, where it's basically they just lift their tail up to be mounted. That is a female typical behavior. And then the male typical behavior is mounting. They found that through the increase of a specific hormone over another would increase behaviors of, say, lordosis or mounting. That's made up. That was just, I just want to be clear, that was invented.
None of what you just said has anything to do with human beings. And before you respond...
No, it does actually, because humans exhibit the same level of differences in sex morphology, depending on how much estrogen, how much progesterone they're taking, how much testosterone they're taking. If I, for example, gave you testosterone suppressants and gave you estrogen for the next 2 years, you would indeed look like a woman. Everything about you'd grow breasts, your fat placement would be different, your skin would feel different. Everything about you would basically be different.
Yeah, so that's true. I agree with you. And
I just want to be clear, right? Because it was invented by your idea, right? This is invented.
Yeah.
So just to be clear, right? When you introduce a specific hormone that it just softens the skin and you just happen to grow breasts, that was it. We invented that phenomenon.
We created the medicine to facilitate something we invented. Yes.
I'm not talking about the medicine. I'm talking about, don't be disingenuous with me. Be genuine with me.
I really don't think
Obviously, what I'm referring to is not the medicine. I'm referring to what happens when you take the medicine. We didn't invent that. We discovered it, right? How your body behaves to hormones is a discovery, not an invention.
Did I say? Yeah, but the prescription that if someone identifies as a gender outside of what they were born with, the idea that the appropriate course of action in that thing is to do all this stuff.
The basis of that exists hormonally.
All this stuff.
The basis of how you feel internally, that exists hormonally.
No, but you already agreed with me that if someone doesn't have any of these hormones going on, but they wholeheartedly identify as a woman and they're biologically a dude,
again, that is so rare it may as well not even exist. right?
Yeah,
It's
transgender people
like,
are rare too.
what
That's
if?
beside the point.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I can entertain the idea that there could be an unmarried bachelor, but it doesn't really make that much of a sense, right? It's like we could talk about that, and it's like, I guess, sure, under that hypothetical, sure, right? I'll have to acknowledge to the bachelor that they're unmarried.
All
Right,
bachelors are unmarried.
because in order to have your idea, your hypothetical, I have to acknowledge that existence anyway. So it's kind of like a gotcha, as opposed to like acting honestly here.
Well, no, I am acting honestly, and the whole
All right,
point.
so I'm
of
asking
someone
you:
being-
are all of the
Dude,
all of
oh
the
my
science
God.
incorrect? Is all of that science that I had presented, all of it is incorrect? You're correct.
The social interpretation of that science being that we should make transgenderism a part of our society, that is incorrect. Yes.
I didn't ask that, whether or not that trans people should be a part of society. I'm saying you said that they don't exist.
Yeah.
Okay, so all of those fields of science disagree with you. Are all of the science wrong, or are you right?
No, the science is right. The idea that makes people a sex outside of what they were born is incorrect.
Wow, great. I think you could rest yourself quite soundly tonight, because science doesn't actually argue that the sex is gender. That's actually right-wingers that argue that. What they'll tell you is that sex is different from gender. That's what they'll tell you. Yep.
Who will tell you that?
The science will tell you sex is different from gender.
No, and I'll tell you that too. Sex is different from gender. Like that's
yeah,
a fact.
yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
but-
So they're not telling you transgender just means your gender is a cross from the sex assigned at birth. So obviously they're not telling you that the sex is changing. It's not changing.
Yeah, and neither sex or gender is informed by how you feel. That's the whole point.
Wrong.
just 'cause I feel like a
Gender
woman doesn't mean I'm a
100%
woman.
is informed how you feel.
Nope.
Again, that is empirically reviewed and addressed by multiple fields of study. So once again, is all science wrong, or are you wrong?
You're wrong because you're missing the point of what I'm saying. The
right.
science isn't wrong. If gender is something that is social and sex is something that is biological, right? You can have all these weird abnormalities with your sex.
I don't agree with that. I believe that gender has a basis that exists biologically. And by the way, multiple fields of study also agree with that.
Nope,
I'm
you
not
already
pulling that
said-
out of
you
my
already
ass.
said- No, you already said at the beginning of this
Oh my
debate
God.
that if someone is
Under the crazy
1,000%
hypothetical, yes, I'm
one-
sure that the unmarried bachelor would certainly be unmarried. You're not understanding what I'm saying at all. You're just trying to get it into hyperbole instead of like understanding that, yeah, it is kind of that.
No, I'm using a thought experiment because that exposes the logic behind what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, if I propose you
Yeah,
an
exactly.
absurd hypothetical, I'm sure you can get some absurd answers. I agree with you.
Well, it's actually not. It's not an absurd hypothetical because
It is an absurd hypothetical.
No, it's not, and I'll explain why. Because you already said, give or take 2% of quote-unquote transgender people don't have the brain thing that you were talking about. So you're
Yeah,
saying that
there's
those 2%
multiple aspects to gender,
Yeah. No, but you're
right?
saying that
In
those
which I
2%
acknowledged
are
right from the
hypotheticals that if I
get-go.
break
I
it down
said
to
that there's
2%,
multiple aspects to gender, and somehow you think that's a gotcha. That's very bizarre to me.
No, because what I'm saying, right, is that if someone is 100% biologically male, right, male brain, male anatomy, male reproductive system, they got a penis, they got a balls, all this stuff, right? If they go through society, right, as a woman, they identify as a woman, they look like a woman, they dress like a woman, all this stuff,
You're
right?
just repeating yourself. I mean, do you have anything else for me? I mean, this is it, man. You're at the end of the rope. You just keep repeating the same thing as if it's a gotcha. I keep trying to explain myself over and over, and then you repeat yourself again. Do you have anything else?
Yeah. If I'm biologically 100% a male and I'm socially 100% a woman, you'd agree that's a thing that can happen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my gender is not informed by my biology at that point, correct?
Wrong.
Sorry?
Wrong.
Okay.
You're
so
just repeating the
lying.
same thing. Do you have anything else?
No, because you're lying. Because you're agreeing.
I'm
with
lying.
Me that
All right.
gender
All right.
is completely separate
All right.
from biology. It is
Good talk.
something that
Good
is
talk.
social-
Good talk. Good talk.
Okay,
You don't
tap
call
out,
me a
dude.
liar. Nope. Don't call me a liar. I'm being entirely very honest with people when I am making a specific predication. Don't call me a liar. Really good way of pissing me off. I'm sorry. Anyway, I mean, go be a transphobe, I guess. Just be like a gross transphobe. I'm not going to be in that camp.
I mean, the guy was kind of doing. So first of all, he was constantly shifting the goalposts and kind of mixing sex and gender all the time without like actually realizing what he. I think he was realizing what he was doing, and he was doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
But I will want to draw like your attention onto something that you might not be that familiar with, and is the concept like in logic called a vacuous truth, right? And a vacuous truth means like, let's say I give you an example of something. I just make a
truth without
statement, like for
substance?
example, all leprechauns love chocolate, right? And I would ask you, is that a true question? Is it logical for me to say it, that all leprechauns love chocolate? And it would be logical, right?
Yeah.
Because leprechauns are part of a null set, right?
Yeah.
So-called, because they don't exist.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like you would have no way of like disproving the contrary. Okay?
Yeah.
So when he gave you that hypothetical of this very special trans person that is not actually a trans person, right? With that trans person that's not a trans person.
I mean, but here's the
be
thing,
a
right?
trans person.
What's crazy is that they could be going, I'm sorry, I hate to interrupt, but they could, I don't know what exactly they're going through. We don't do brain scans on people. We just kind of take them at their word, that it's a legitimate
Might
thing.
not be all just brain scan.
We don't know what they're going through, and it's so you kind of do have to take their word for it. It just is that way. Anyway, we got another call. You're on the line with First Amender.
Yeah, hey, how you doing?
What would you like to talk about?
Well, yeah, so I kind of like appreciate the premise of the thing you're doing. However, I do have one criticism, which is I think you misuse the term good faith and bad faith a lot. I think it's like ill applied. So I was wondering, could you like define them both for me?
Off the top of my head, just
Sure.
I would probably say like good faith is approaching something with the desire to learn and understand an opposing viewpoint. Bad faith is ignoring or trying to poison the well to prove your point.
So I wouldn't. I don't know. I would say that's like an insufficient definition.
I mean, that's just off the top of my
for
head.
me,
I mean, if
anyway.
you want, I can provide.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you use it, if I would think that you should, off the top of your head, have a pretty good understanding of it if you're going to use it against people so much, right? Because I wouldn't go around using a term, that I don't understand.
What do you mean by understand?
So like understand like the meaning, the implications, and the definition.
Mm-hmm. Well, right. I don't find
like
that to be I don't find that to be an adequate understanding of understand. And it would behoove you to be able to understand words that that understand if you plan on using it. Right? Because the reality is understand just means that you're perceiving or intended meaning of the words, language, or spoken. You're not really involving that perception.
Yeah, but this doesn't disqualify my criticism, which is
no, it's a direct.
You are using.
I'm doing the same thing that what you just did to me.
No,
I mean, you asked me hey, if you want to do it off the top of your head, I said sure, I'll do it off the top of my head. Obviously, that's not going to be as good as like a rigorous definition, and then when it was not rigorous, you said, well, I don't know, I think if you plan on using the terms good faith and bad faith, you really need to have a strong definition of it. Well, I can do that with just about anything. I just did it just now.
Well,
so let's go ahead and try it again. So good faith
when I
is where you're
good
dealing
faith
with
and bad
honest
faith.
dealing, and it signifies acting with honest intentions and a genuine desire of fulfilling obligations. It is observance of fair dealing standards, as in you're adhering to reasonable standards of fairness and honesty, as well as in business or contractual relationships. It is the absence of fraudulent intent. It implies a lack of intention to deceive or gain an unfair advantage over another party. There's an implied covenant, as in especially through contracts, though not explicitly stated, include an implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing, meaning that parties are expected to act honestly and fairly in performing their obligations. In terms of bad faith, it is an intentional dishonest act. It is involving dishonesty or fraudulent conduct. It is a failure to fulfill your obligations, such as failing to meet legal or contractual obligations, an attempt to mislead others, entering agreements with no intention of fulfilling them.
Could I interrupt you for a second?
What?
Could we use it within? Could we use it within the terms of debating, because that is the context of which I'm levying the criticism?
Yeah, like I think I would say the purpose of debate for me is ultimately to
No. I mean good faith and bad faith in regards to debate.
Yeah. So I believe that the purpose of debate is to learn from opposing viewpoints. And I believe that if that is the intent, then you would be observing debate in good faith. But if the purpose of the person's debate is to just get gotcha points or to waste your time in semantics with no intent of actually coming to some common ground, I would consider that bad faith.
Okay, great. And I would agree with that. So with that being said, would you agree that an opposing worldview is not bad faith?
Not inherently, no.
No, right? But so that's why I bring it up, is because whenever somebody just has an opposing view to yours, you call it bad faith, and then you will use that as like a justification.
Well, I call it bad faith. So I call it bad faith. And by the way, just FYI, the reason why I hung up on the last caller was because they called me a liar. I'm not a liar. I pride myself on the fact that I do not lie. So right away, I already am aware that he is openly poisoning the well. He's actually not interested in hearing opposing arguments. He just wants to poison the well to prove himself right, make himself feel better. It has no semblance in the spirit of debate.
I wasn't specifically just pointing out that one guy. I'm just saying in general, like I've watched you do this for a few shows, and it's just a pattern I'm recognizing, and that's why I bring it up.
Okay. I mean, if I'm acting in bad faith, I want to know about it, quantify it, get it solidified, get it to where it's like, okay, it has no justification. And that I should listen to the viewpoint. Maybe you provide a book for me to read. I have open and read books that people have suggested to me.
I could give you a viewpoint and see if and test it on you to see if you take it as like just bad faith, or do you see it as something worth actually having a debate about?
Sure.
Because it is just a worldview. Yeah.
Sure.
So if I believe that. If I believe that qualia is not a good enough measure of how to accurately identify a trans individual, and because I believe that it is a social contagion of which people will lie to self-affirm or affirm like that identity to others, that's what I see as a large, as being responsible for a large surge of like transgenderism.
Okay, so you're saying that it's likely a social contagion. It has no basis in reality.
I'm not saying no basis in reality. I'm saying that qualia is not an accurate basis for how we would like affirm or like confirm a trans individual.
So are you saying that, okay, specifically only, so qualia is not sufficient only for trans individuals, or would you apply that anywhere?
For trans individuals,
Is qualia sufficient
like specific
in other aspects, not trans, but just any aspect? Like
it could be.
So qualia can be sufficient.
It could be.
See, this is what I'm starting to say, like where it starts to become bad faith, because
Well,
I'm not sure exactly.
Answer, I mean,
what do you mean, good faith, bad faith? I said, can it happen? So if it can it happen,
saying, yes,
as in it's possible
I'm-
for it to
I'm
not
saying.
happen, but it can happen, that would be an indication of yes, not it could be, it can, it is, right?
Well, I'm like, okay, sure. Well, I don't see the difference, but go ahead.
You don't see the difference of with a wishy-washy. It could be a very lawyer answer as opposed to just saying yes.
Why? Just an accurate
Obviously, the answer is yes.
answer.
You broke up.
But I said, in your view, that is the answer. Yes, I agree.
No, I'm not. One more time.
Yeah.
I'm not asking my view. I know my view.
Yeah.
Your view. Is
Yes.
there an instance where qualia is a sufficient metric to measure with?
Yes, I'm sure I could think of one. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. For example, if somebody says they have PTSD, we don't measure them. We take their word for it. Right? We
Well,
take
it
them
would
to a
also be-
psychologist. We can go over that and then determine if they need any help. Same thing if somebody says, I'm having a heart attack, we kind of take their word for it. We're like, damn, I better call an ambulance. We don't go, I don't know. Probably not.
Sure.
Yeah, we kind of take their word for lots of things. And so when we're talking about a particular mental state, we're not in their brain. We can't actually determine 100% sure whether or not they are or are not trans. We don't have a measuring mechanism for that. We just have to kind of take their word for them. And then we take them to a psychologist to determine if they need any
Why
care.
would? Okay. So, but why would qualia supersede scientific measures?
Qualia is a part of the scientific measure.
Okay, but if they met all the scientific measures, the qualia. would
Well,
be-
I mean, take for example, like the DSM-5, like the basis of the DSM-5, right, is going to ultimately come down to the thousands and thousands of patients that exhibit a specific phenomenon that exists entirely within the brain, right? And then when we exhibit this phenomenon, the psychologists get together and they find, okay, well, what's the best possible treatment plan? And there are tests to determine whether or not that it's effective versus ineffective. And then it is the combination of that understanding that it gets written down into a book called the DSM-5. Right? And so
Okay.
that would be the existence regarding gender dysphoria, where there's evidence-based measures based off of people's qualia.
Okay.
Right? And this is
So
true
what
for
does
any
that
mental
have to
condition.
do- So what does that have to do with the question?
You're breaking up. What?
I said, what does that have to do with the question I'm asking?
What was your question?
I was asking you, why would qualia, like, hold on, why would we use qualia to supersede the scientific measures?
Because that's the determinant to figuring out mental conditions. That's the primary
but
determinant.
But then I asked you if I met all the scientific measures for being trans, but I had none of the
Well,
qualia.
being trans in and of itself doesn't mean you have a mental disorder.
Is your
You're breaking up.
whatever being trans? I okay. Hello,
Hello?
can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay. Okay, so I'm telling you, if I met all the scientific markers for being trans, but I had none of the qualia, would I still be trans?
No, you would no longer be trans.
I would no longer be trans. So none of the scientific markers matter.
No, because your qualia is determinant off of your biology. It has a root in biological determinism.
So, but I just gave to you. I just
A
asked
hypothetical
you the
of the same exact
Uh-huh.
hypothetical of the last individual.
Was it?
Yeah, it's literally the same concept. You're saying, well, what if they had none of the things that make them trans, but they had an internal quality? Then yeah, they'd be trans. And so if they did not have that, would they still be trans? And I said no. And then you said, well, that doesn't make any sense. It's the same concept.
So do you think that you're being asked the same question over and over again? That
In this
you don't think it means
In
no,
this
but
moment,
you don't
yeah.
think it means that you're, huh?
In this moment, yeah.
In this moment, yeah. What? I haven't even asked you anything.
Yeah, you
I'm
did. You
saying
did ask me
if-
a question.
No, I'm saying if
It's the
if
same hypothetical.
Right? Is that not proof that your answer isn't sufficient?
No, it just means that people don't seem to understand it. I mean, I've
Okay.
provided
I mean-
giant meta-analysis papers on this. There is no amount of evidence that will ever convince transphobes.
But
They
you're
just kind of adhere
dismissing
to the
it
same.
right now.
No, I'm pointing.
You're dismissing.
No,
it.
I'm not. I mean, it's like if you're in a room full of flat earthers, I'm sure I could probably get 20 people to say your answer is not sufficient. That doesn't make them correct.
No, but wait, hold on.
Right. The
I'm
reality
using-
is that a majority of these of the scientific papers and research analysis in different fields of study all agree with me here. Right.
Look,
Everything that I've
yeah.
told you is the culmination of all of the scientific studies that I have read. Right. And it's through
I'm
multiple
not
different fields
arguing
of study.
against the science, though. I'm not making the argument against.
Do
the
trans
science.
people
You
exist?
are.
Do trans people exist? Yes or no? Do trans people exist? Yes or no?
I'll answer your questions once
Nope.
you answer
Stop
mine. in good
playing your
faith.
game. Do trans people exist?
you're not
Yes
answering-
or no?
You're not answering my questions.
I
in
have
good
been
faith,
doing
sir.
nothing but answering your questions. Now, please
No,
answer
you
my question.
haven't.
Yes or
No, you-
no?
But how are you
Last
asking me a
chance.
question when
Yes
you haven't?
or no?
Do trans
Do
people?
trans people exist?
What is it? I don't. That's what we're discussing right now.
Yeah. You said that I was going against the science, so I just wanted to be clear if you're there with the science, right? Do trans people exist? Yes or no?
That's what's in question, sir.
You're quiet. I don't know what is going on.
Hold on. Hello? You hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm saying that's what is in question in this conversation right
Yeah,
now.
well, I mean, you said that I was going against the science, so I wanted to be clear if you're going
Yeah.
against the science. Do trans people exist? Yes or no?
I don't know. Listen, that's what we're having the discussion around. I haven't
Okay.
read all the things that you've read, but I'm asking you questions. I'm doing an internal critique of your worldview to see if it
It's
makes
not a
any
worldview.
logical sense.
It's not a worldview.
Well, whether you or not you want to believe it's a worldview, it is, because there are people that have an opposing view to yours. So it is a worldview.
Yeah, I mean, if the worldview is evidence-based and reality-based, I suppose so. That's a worldview. I'm
Okay.
stuck in
Are we-
reality world, and then, I don't know, everybody else is stuck in, weird transphobia world where they listen to what Rupert Murdoch told them.
Okay.
The neuroanatomy of the transgender identity, meta-analytic findings from the Enigma Transgender Persons Working Group. I've brought this up so many times, it's insane. What they found in the results is that using a mega-analytic approach, they used structural MRI data of 803 non-hormonally treated transgender men, transgender women, cisgendered men, and cisgendered women were analyzed. The outcomes is that the structural brain measures, including the gray matter volume, cortical surface area, and cortical thickness, were measured. Transgender persons differed significantly from cisgendered persons with respect to subcortical brain volumes and surface area, but not cortical thickness. Contrasting the four groups, trans man, trans woman, cis man, cis women, we observed a variety of patterns that not only depended on the direction of gender identity, as in towards male or towards female, but also on the brain measure as well as the brain region examined. The conclusion was that rather than being merely shifted towards either end of the male-female spectrum, transgender persons seem to present their own unique brain phenotype. So I'm going to ask you one more time. Do trans people exist? Yes or no?
That's going to be entirely up to your answers to my questions. That's what's in question here. If you're going to have this discussion,
why? I mean, you said that it was against the science.
I made the claim that
I acknowledge trans people exist. Do you know why? Because the evidence shows it, dude.
But you're denying the evidence. You're telling me that.
What is this?
Let me
what
make
is
the
this
case.
giant paper? What is this? Did I just make this up?
Are you going to let me explain my position?
All right, go ahead. I want to hear your anti-trans position. Go ahead.
You're dismissing all of the papers and all of the studies by using qualia as the superseding qualifier for what a trans person is.
Yes, because in order to describe a particular condition that somebody has,
wait. Can you wait?
We ask them what they're experiencing.
Do you see the point I'm making with that statement?
All right. So let's say, for example, somebody has depression. Okay. We're actually not doing a chemical study on that person having depression. We just take their word that we ask them questions. They say, well, blank and blank, how do you feel about this? Have you ever thought about unaliving yourself? Do you have thoughts of, depressing thoughts? Are you tired a lot? And then they answer those questions. We take their word for it. Do we do an MRI study on them? No. However, if we did an MRI brain scan, and would we likely exhibit brain morphologies that are different from people who do not have depression? The answer is yes. It's actually a chemical issue.
I don't know if that's true in all cases.
Okay, so sometimes, okay, fair enough. So sometimes that might not be the case. Does that mean, therefore, they do not have depression? No, the answer is no. They may very well still have depression. Depression is quite complicated. The same reason of someone's what their internal gender is. It's complicated, but yes, it has a basis and rooted in biological determinism. Do you understand?
Yeah, I understand that, but psychology itself it's an imperfect soft science, and we have nowhere near.
Love it.
Like look, my friend, I have a friend, very smart.
Is PTSD real?
He's a neurobiologist. He works for
No,
Google.
because psychology. Why would you say psychology is something being a soft science? Meaning it's not based in reality as much. Would you say?
No, it just means that the truth of it has not been even close to being fully discovered.
That's not what a soft science is.
Well, that's how I read it as
a soft science just means that there's more variables. When you're talking about the human brain, there's millions of variables to take into account, and there's no way to factor out every single thing. It's not a chemistry project, and it's not a physics project. It's the human brain. It's much more complex than physics or your chemistry project. So you can't root out every single thing that is there, and so you have to understand that there is a level of uncertainty which requires a certain level of statistical analysis. It is a soft science, yes, but that doesn't make it any less valid. And there's perfectly plenty of things that are can be well repeated and fully repeatable study that are entirely rooted on soft science. So simply pointing out soft science is a brutal attempt at trying to poison the well as opposed to actually addressing what's going on.
I'm not even trying to poison the well. Let's say I
Then
grant
why would you
everything
call it a
in the
soft
soft
science?
science. Well, that's just the truth of what it is. But let's
Okay,
say
but
I
why
grant
would you call it a
everything-
soft science?
Hold on,
I understand you called it a soft science. Why would you
Is
call
it
it a soft
not?
science? Why bring that up?
Why? Because I believe that the mind is very
To
needs
discredit
a rigorous
the
amount of study to
studies.
understand.
Come on now,
fully.
you could do it.
What?
Obviously, it's to discredit the findings regarding transgender
No,
people.
no, that's bad faith. You're attributing a motive to me that is not mine is bad faith,
You
sir.
literally won't even acknowledge the existence of trans people, even after I show you the basic study behind it. It's literally just transphobia. Like you're just
Hold
arguing
on, no,
transphobia.
That's more. This is more bad faith. I'm
No,
doing
no,
it
it's
based
not.
on what you tell me.
No. See, here's the problem. What
All
I
I've
like
done.
to do
Hold on.
is I like to I calls it like I sees it. Okay, so if you're saying if you won't even acknowledge the existence of trans people, I'm sorry, I'm just going to call you a transphobe.
I could if your answers to my questions were logical. I definitely could.
Did you
would
know
like
that there was a
chance
person
for me?
Would
you like a chance to change my mind, sir?
Did you know I had a moment where there was a person who sat there, was arguing race realist positions. They were arguing for like the national identity of America and how it's like preserved for white people. And I asked them point blank. I asked them, hey, was Hitler did a bad thing? Right? Very simple question, right? Obviously, I think just about anybody reasonable would say, yeah, what Hitler did was a bad thing. And they just wouldn't answer that fucking question. And I said, are you a Nazi?
That's a pretty broad question.
They said they were sitting there in the same exact chair as you, where they're just sitting there telling me, virtual chair, figurative, by the way. They were sitting there telling me, well, that's, you're acting in bad faith. You calling me a Nazi and you're calling me that. You know what was crazy? They posted a video of the exact debate that we had, and they had their socials on it. And do you know what they had on their social? Pro-Nazi propaganda. It was literally nothing but pro-Nazi stuff. It was like, it literally would have like things where they actually liked Hitler. And I was like, holy crap, I called it. I called it exactly what it was. So I'm calling your shit out right now. I think the basis of your argument is not rooted in reality. I think it's rooted in transphobia, and it would behoove you to take the time to actually read something regarding gender studies.
So this is your Yelp review that isn't related to anything that I've said and doesn't logically align with my worldview at all, because all I've done is given you the chance to change my mind, and the answers to my questions they don't affirm your view of the facts. They affirm mine.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll give you another chance one more time because I am beholden to the laws of logic here. So if your standard for trans people existing is the science, but then you will like throw the science away and say that none of the science matters when qualia comes up. That qualia will supersede
science does matter.
every
I'm
time.
saying you need to use qualia to determine how they feel.
And then, okay, let's say they tell you, I feel this way, and then you run all the scientific measures on them, and they meet none of the measures of being transgender by a scientific metric. Now what?
I would acknowledge their identity and then continue on.
There you go.
Hold on. I would acknowledge their identity, but realize that it's likely the only reason why they actually are trans is strictly social and has no basis in their biology. They likely will grow out of it. That's what I believe.
So they're lying. Oh, you think they'll
they're not
grow
lying.
out of it?
So they're going through something, and it will likely be a little bit of time for them to. Well, I'm just pointing out that I don't know what it is that they're going through. Obviously, there's something there. And I would just acknowledge their existence. I would not say, "Oh, well, what you're experiencing is a delusion." I don't know what they're going through. It is quite often when people who are like that, they end up growing out of it.
Okay, so you would agree with me then that in such a case, it would be right for me to label them as a, mentally unstable and possibly a threat to their own health?
No.
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 Interesting. Why no?
Because it's
You
not
just
entailed into
told
being
me what you
trans.
thought of it, and you just said that it's something that is not true and that they'll grow out of it, meaning that they'll come at some point to realize that it's not true.
Yeah, I mean, for that very tiny minority of people where they don't exhibit any of the brain morphologies, sure. They'll likely grow out of it. Yeah. Did he just hang up? Yeah, he hung up.
You know what I like the most about this guy?
What?
He came in
Is it the
really
fact that they're
strong.
that they're openly
criticizing
trans
you
folks?
that you didn't have. No, not that. You'll see. So the first thing he said is like, oh my God, it's like you don't even have like a proper definition of good faith and bad faith, but you're using it and you don't have a proper definition that everybody agrees on. And then during the debate with you, he went on to have a very proprietary definition of what a soft science is. And apparently he had no problem with that, right? But he is behoven to the laws of logic, apparently.
Yeah, for sure. We got another phone call. I think it's the same person. You're on the line with First Amender.
Hello, Amender. How you doing?
Is this Stink Dink?
You're doing what?
Is this Stink Dink?
I cannot confirm nor deny that. But I have been listening to
Hello,
to your
Stink
argument.
Dink.
I noticed that you are using a lot of bad faith argumentation,
Yeah?
if I must say.
Why don't you tell me about it?
Yeah. Appeal to authority. I noticed that you never read my WPATH files as well when it comes to these claims that you made, especially when it comes to quote unquote detransitioning rates. Have you read that yet, or are you still proclaiming that it's a PDF after you
no, I've not read
unironically just persisted and say that you doxed someone just live on the internet right now?
All I said is this is Stink Dink. Do you actually want to have a conversation, or do you want to just make
No.
it?
So first off, you cannot proclaim something to be like inherently bad faith after you proposition an entirely constructive narrative on how you managed to dox this person or find out what they are. It's called phone booking, by the way, and narrate this schema, right? This framework of another person. It's kind of fucked up.
What?
It's kind of fucked up. You're painting a picture in order to dispel another person's argument. What is that, Amender?
Well, for starters, I don't think you understand what an argument from authority is.
You literally did that. First off, right?
Yeah. So
Like 3
listing
conversations ago, you insisted. No.
Okay, let's all listen to Stink Dink, everybody.
No. You can't do that. You can't do that because I just saw you do that to like 3 other people with me. So when you persist and say, "Oh, well, I have all these studies," right? By the way, studies that have replication issues you should not be using them in an argument. By the way, because that put holes in your argument. Like that one said that you have, that study has yet to be replicated, nor it has proved to be replicated yet.
So let's say that there's something wrong with your
let's
heart.
use an example. Here's a classical think example of argument from authority. Let's just say that I have it on good hand that bug breaking exists, right? And I know lots and lots of sources that would proclaim.
Can we not talk about bug breaking on my channel?
Why not?
I would appreciate it if you.
Why not? Like after all, P Diddy is
weird and
released. P
gross.
Diddy is fucking free from jail, right? He's running around with the baby oil, with the Diddy oil. Why would you not want to talk about bug breaking? It's the truth now. It's the truth. I proclaim it as the truth. I have it on good authority now from multiple people and with my own eyes. Bug breaking is real.
Now
Would you agree with it?
Now that is an actual appeal to authority, by the way.
Exactly. And what you did earlier was exactly that.
No, because a relevant authority is not an appeal to authority. It's providing an argument with examples from people who know what they're talking about. If somebody, for example, gets a doctorate in a particular
from
field,
a university without providing an example is not a pure authority.
How do I mute him? How do I mute it?
Yes or no?
Hold on.
Could probably do it from your sound. Settings,
I probably got to do it from the sound.
Just lower his volume.
All right, so we're gonna try that one more time. A relevant authority is not an appeal to authority. That is only referencing when the entire argument is the fact that they are an authority. But there are people that are well studied in a particular subject, and bringing up the arguments from people that are well studied in the subject is not an appeal to authority. Do you understand? So bringing up relevant authorities, no, it's not. Like unironically,
without providing the citation or the argument, it is an appeal to authority. Because you taught me that, Amir.
All right, I am muting you. You have been muted. Nobody can hear you. Nobody can hear you. Just FYI, right? I'm. Chill for starters. Just please, for God's sakes, chill. If you want to have the conversation, we can have the conversation. But like, you need to pull up your basic logic book regarding fallacies. Bringing up a relevant authority is not an appeal to authority. Just Google this. I'm not blowing smoke up your ass by saying that. All right.
You have always blown smoke up people's asses. And the fact that you go around and you still baddening me. By the way, I have people's text messages. And they say, oh, the First Amendment is always talking about you. And I'm like, well, I haven't been on Discord. I deleted my account.
Yeah, you're hilarious. Yes, you're hilarious. Yes, I talk about you.
Nothing like, Stink's a bad-faced arguer, yes. Right? You know, that's really funny, right? And then after that, I heard you try to get someone banned because they sound like me.
What?
Does that happen?
I don't get people banned because they sound like you.
Really, because someone told me that, and they sent me Discord DMs of someone from NDD saying that, hey, someone from First Amendment group is saying that, right?
First Amendment group? What group do I have? What do you mean?
You have poll watchers, right? I've been making fun of Daniel Hume, and Daniel Hume still has yet to respond to my Zepsy Zoom.
All right, hold on. Hey.
You have a in-group
Why not come on? Hold on. If you want to have a comment, shut up.
No. First off.
All right, you're muted again. You've been muted. Nobody can hear you. You can scream into the void. Nobody can hear you. So, if you want to talk about Daniel Hume, to Daniel Hume, I will stay completely quiet for you. I will just let you and Daniel Hume go. And then you and Daniel Hume can have at it. But you got to show up on the Modern Day Debate open member stage. If you just show up and hold your hand up, then you can have the discussion. All right? So I'm gonna unmute you now. All right, hello?
Oh, I'm here.
Yeah. Do you want to show up on the Modern Day Debate stage and we'll invite you up? Because Daniel can hear you, but you will not be able to hear him because this is a phone call. This is a phone call between you.
I don't care about that. That's why I'm talking directly to you, because I don't want to go back on Discord. You know that Discord is now being investigated by the federal government for child trafficking? And I know this on first hand because I have documentation from my contractors.
This guy's amazing.
So I would advise you, right? If you're a big smart brainiac person, stop using Discord as a platform.
Okay. I guess you got to stop using Discord then. Darn.
Well, I'm saying you.
Why would I stop using Discord? I love Discord.
Because you're obviously on Discord. Because you already established that already. You insisted I had to go to Modern Day Debate, right?
Yeah, show up on Modern Day Debate. Yeah.
No, I'm not going to do it. I don't want to make another account, right? I don't want your fucking, I don't want to be associated with Discord, right? Is that simple?
Okay, then don't be on Discord. It was nice knowing you, I guess.
No, I'm not on Discord. Can you provide proof that I'm on Discord?
I don't know.
Well, you're the one who says that I'm on Discord, right? And which is funny because Daniel Hume was saying something
I
about
assume
evidence.
you are
I
on
wanna
Discord.
see
You're
evidence.
known to be on
I want to
Discord.
see evidence from you, right now on screen that I am on Discord.
All right. I wanted to say that you sound like a crazed lunatic homeless guy, but unfortunately, that would be uncharitable to the homeless guys.
No, yeah, I can say that you sound like a guy who probably has like a dildo stuffed to his ass, right? But I've already seen the dildo picture that someone
Okay, a
else.
big dildo. You want to see it?
I mean, you can show it, right? Just don't get mad and start screaming for people to ban them when they start spreading it around, right?
Yeah,
That's
they
on
start
you. That's on your
harassing me with
prerogative.
it. Yeah, of course I'm gonna give them trouble. Are you kidding?
So then why
I don't
are you
think that people
inviting
should
that,
be
right?
harassed,
Why
whether
are
I
you
like them or
inviting that,
not.
right?
Like, I don't think
you
we
just
should
said that
harass
you want
people.
to show it to me, right? Which I would infer that if you show it on camera, people are going to screenshot that and they're going to make fun of you of it again.
Okay, I mean, just don't use it against me, I guess. It's kind of weird.
Don't use it against you, despite the fact that you are on the internet where you are being marketed.
I just don't
to be used
believe
against
that
you.
people should.
Like, I don't know. Like if you don't want to be used against you, then why are you engaging in debates, Mister? I have to question, Mister. I question people's epistemology.
Yeah.
If you don't want that, then why are you doing it?
I don't know what you want from me, Stink Dink. I don't know why you completely lose your mind around me.
First, I want you to admit that you are a liar, right? Entirely to your entire audience, because I heard you multiple
I'm not a
times
liar.
live
I'll
that
tell
you
as
are
is.
indeed a liar. It's
I'm
okay
not a
to admit
liar.
you are a liar, right?
I do not lie.
Being honest about it. Being honest about it
I'm being
is-
honest
is-
with you.
is a good thing, right?
I'm being
I don't
honest
know
with
why
you. I'm not lying
you
to you.
have to lie to yourself. Because that's a
not
narcissist,
hiding
right?
behind
I
you.
think I called you a narcissist in another chat where by saying like, "Oh, I'm not a liar. I not do these things." That's a thing that my mom did,
Mm-hmm.
right? My meth head mom who was a narcissist who also said she didn't lie.
Well, you got every
It's projection.
chance in the world to tell the entire world just how awful I am. You've did it. You've got the
Well, I'm doing
audience.
it right
The
now
audience is
by
here.
broadcasting my voice. I'm doing that right now.
Yes, and you got it, dude. They love it. They love you.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. And guess what? People are probably going to clip this, and they're going to probably spread it to other people. In fact, they might spread it to like harmful opinions. or
Yeah, and
something.
then point it in my face and put it on the Kiwi
Yeah,
Farms.
I'm masturbating to this right now. I'm doing to it.
All right, I'll give you the last word there, Master
I
Troll.
just want to say you're a poopy head.
Okay,
Is that
I'm a
simple?
poopy head,
You're just
got it.
you're just a bad face poopy head.
All right, good talk. It's nice talking to you, Stink Dink.
If I could say something in defense of Stink Dink,
What?
I mean, he did try to buy a book on fallacies, but he actually just bought one on fallacies, and he got all like
All his
you know,
arguments?
confused after that happened. So it is what it is, It's like now he can't understand it anymore. It's like because that's why he keeps bringing up dildos and stuff.
Do you
Because
think
it's
that's
like
that's going to be it? Okay, so I do want to address some of the people in the audience, and there is a person that I would like to actually talk to. So I'm gonna put myself in a do not disturb mode for the phones, and we're gonna take a call from somebody who's in the Discord audience, Mr. Kai. We're bringing in Mr. Kai. How you doing, Mr. Kai?
Hello there. Can you hear me?
I sure can. What's going on?
Hey, man. It's been a while. It's
Yeah,
good.
it has been a while. Did I?
Bro,
did-
I've seen your debates. You're going places.
you think?
Yeah, it's crazy. Dude, the Andrew Wilson debate? Wow.
So hold on. So what did you think? But I don't know, man. I think you should be careful, right? Didn't you hear Stink Dink? I mean, he made it very convincing that I'm a pretty consistent liar. You should listen to him, be very wary of me, I guess.
I'll take that into account. I'll make sure I'm careful, okay?
Okay.
I'll be careful.
So what did you want to talk about?
Okay, so I think the last time we talked, it was a while ago, but I think the last time we talked, I never got your I guess your views on morality. Like, do you have any strong views on morality or anything?
I do.
Okay. All right, well, I'm interested. So, do you want to start with like meta ethics and then maybe go to normative?
I could just give you the whole thing. Give me a moment.
Okay,
I
yeah.
actually have it written down.
Sick, bro.
Let me see if I can find it. So, where is it? Where is it? Where is it?
Also, your relationship with Jake Rattlesnake is really funny.
Nice.
It is. It is really funny, dude.
That's funny. Okay. All right. So I believe that morality comes from a long evolutionary pathway of survival. The desire for survival is entropic. But what does that mean? Those words are not random. Entropy is a strictly mechanistic function of the universe. All matter results in one form of entropy to another, which includes all living organisms. Entropy, to place it into understandable terms, is where things go from a finite higher energy state into a lower energy state of less interaction into chaos. Think about a hot cup of coffee. Should the hot cup of coffee be in the middle of a room, eventually the cup of coffee will exude its energy out from the coffee and out into the room. The result is that the coffee now matches the temperature of the room, and the room becomes slightly hotter. The energy is now spread out and can no longer interact. All organisms operate with this universal principle. Think if I took a single-celled eukaryote, as in possesses a cell wall, a nucleus, mitochondria, with cilia, little hairs that provide locomotion, and put a hot poker beside it. The hot poker exudes out energy from the hot poker through entropy. The energy touches the cell wall of the eukaryote and mechanistically begins binding to the chemicals of the cell walls, which cascade into a series of proteins that excites the motors of the cilia to cause the eukaryote to swim away. The eukaryote, as a result, never thought about survival. It has no brain to perceive the desire of survival. It never felt that it would die and then it should run away. It simply runs entirely out of mechanistic notions. I do not believe humans are much different, though in our form of survival is much more complex due to the fact that we are a social species. However, we would just be thinking of us like the eukaryote, but with extra steps. We propagate survival by being a social species. That means we mechanistically attempt to work together, and where we mechanistically desire survival. Indeed, even the suicidal person flinches when you swing your fist at them. Survival is entropic. It must happen, independent of our desire for it to happen. Our understanding of morality, while subjective, is predicated upon a desire of survival, which is chemically determined. Therefore, we create our moral understanding out of survival, and that which does not propagate survival and serves to destroy is wrong entirely off of mechanistic means.
Okay, I'm going to take that as a position on naturalism. Would you agree or disagree?
Yes, I would agree.
Okay, that's cool. Okay, so I'm interested. I don't think I would disagree so hard with you. Now, I personally don't believe that moral statements are truth apt, and I don't think you're too far away from that. I think that
you can't derive an is from
based on your explanation, it sounds like you're saying that morality is mechanistic and it's utility driven. So it was evolved into us, and it was adapted into us basically mechanistically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, interesting. Do you think I could convince you that morality is... Well, I mean, I guess I wouldn't have to convince you because you would just already agree that morality is part of the human experience. It's not independent from us.
Yeah. I mean, there's some like instances of proto-morality across other mammals.
Right. I mean, like in conscious creatures, I guess, or in sentient creatures.
Yeah, I mean, like mammals are, I mean, they particularly end up being quite social. And so because that they themselves are social species, end up having like their own versions of a proto-morality. Okay,
but what do you mean by proto-morality? How's that different from normal morality?
Pre-morality. Like a good example is that there's a study that shows if you give a rat a chance, where you give it a chance of escape and it has its friends nearby, that rat will help the other rats escape the cage.
Okay, this is interesting. I would make this distinction, and I think you would almost treat these synonymously. Do you see empathy as like the basis for morality?
I don't think it's the basis. I think it's a part of morality.
Is it part of it?
Yeah.
Do you see another part? I don't see how there'd be another part to morality, naturalistically speaking.
Parts
besides
of
empathy.
morality that are not empathetic. Consequence?
Wait, the consequence?
Yeah, like I
Like
mean,
for
I
example,
could have
like
empathy.
you said, like the rat.
Like if I don't know, like let's say for example that there's like a deadbeat kid that you've done everything you could to kind of instill values into the child, but I don't know, they're just spending all day playing video games or whatever, and they're like 25. There comes to like a point where you're just like, okay, I think I got to kick them out because it's better for them to do so. They'd probably be pretty
Like
upset.
rationality
that you're doing
takes
it.
over empathy.
Yeah, in that aspect, in that I think there's probably a moral imperative to it because it prepares them for life.
Okay.
It's beneficial for them.
So, interesting. So since you view morality mechanistically, then I guess you wouldn't care too much about like deontology. You would be more consequentialist.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, interesting. So, I mean, like you have a strong scientific belief in morality, but you don't have like strong opinions on using morality, at least rule-based morality in our decision makings for like governance and stuff. You would just take a utility route.
Well, you could be a rule utilitarian.
Yeah, but that's bullshit, right?
Why?
Okay, so I looked into this and I'm surprised many people didn't understand this. Deontology and consequentialism are mutually exclusive systems and they don't interact. And if you look into the reason why, if you get down to it, like the very lowest levels of decision making and values, when you look into rule utilitarianism or deontology, what all that really means is that whichever system that the other one it has a hard stop in, it just favors the other system more. So, for example, rule utilitarianism, I believe, is it's where you have utilitarianism until you hit like a hard rule. Now, I think that the reason that happens is because they see the consequences of going past that hard rule would be devastating,
Yeah.
like utility speaking.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, but like the core idea of consequentialism is that the ends justify the means. And then the core idea of deontology is that it's the rule itself that is like divine or like important. So those two things are kind of completely antithetical to each other. So the whole idea of like rule
Unless, of course, you have
utilitarianism.
rule utilitarianism, which is not
Yeah, but like,
antithetical.
don't you? But that, like, how do you
Because
explain
the rule itself leads to
contradiction?
beneficial outcomes.
Exactly. So it would just be consequentialism, right?
Yes, and consequentialism
So
and utilitarianism aren't mutually exclusive of one another.
Yeah. So, for example, like,
what's
I
the
would
issue?
say deontology could fall under consequentialism in the sense that you're only respecting the rule because it's the principle of the matter, and you want the masses to also agree with the principle of the matter, which will in turn have the
I would
best
only agree with the
consequences.
principle of the matter if it had beneficial consequences.
Exactly. So then you would be a hard consequentialism, and you would be implementing like this idea of like a divine principle to the people. You would be using psychology to incentivize them to be good people, and that would have good consequences.
I'm not sure exactly where you're going with this. It doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Well, all I'm saying is that consequentialism and deontology are mutually exclusive, and that there's a hard line there. And like the idea of like implementing,
Except
like
for
if I
rule
said, like, for
rule
example,
utilitarianism is not a disproven concept. Like it's not like an incongruous like thing that's just it doesn't work at all. No, it does work. It is considered a serious framework in the modern sense. It doesn't have a valid disproval mechanism, and I feel like I provided that, but for whatever reason, you seem to be stuck that like they're not that rule utilitarianism is just incongruous.
Well, the way you explained it before made sense to me. Like for example, like virtue ethics would be this idea of like a third category. But if you look at virtue
is
ethics,
just saying that there are certain rules that society ought follow, because if it did not, it would result in worse outcomes. I suppose like a perfect utilitarianism would be best if we had, say, for example, the determinism machine where it has all of the answers to how things would be, in which case we could come to the best possible outcome out of people because we knew the best outcome. We would just apply the best outcome from a utilitarian worldview. But because we don't, we have to kind of like apply to rules that just generally work. Like, hey, if we do this rule, does it result in beneficial outcomes? Is it better than not having the rule? And the rules is that, yeah, it would be better to have this rule than it would be to not adhere to that rule.
okay. Well, I mean, if you're using that definition, then I would agree with you. I think most people don't take that definition. But yeah, if it's just the ends justify the means, and by the means, we're creating a system of rules that are like principles that we're like using the people's psychology to make
I'm starting
them
to think
believe
that
in
like the word utilitarianism is like a trigger word for people. Like they just don't like the idea of utilitarianism. Like they hear utilitarianism and they're just like Nazis, communism.
Well, communism.
Mao
Right?
Zedong,
The Christian
right?
nationalists.
Christian
The Christian
nationalism.
nationalists would say that you're a utilitarian, as if it's a pejorative.
Yeah, they're just like, oh God, you're a utilitarian, therefore bad.
A moral relativist. That's the one. Moral relativist.
That's another one. That's like, it's like a bad word for some reason, even though like literally everybody operates on moral relativism, whether you want to admit it or not.
Well, yeah. Well, because everybody operates on preferences, and ironically enough, dude, like Andrew Wilson doesn't even realize that every single one of his beliefs relies on his preferences. And yet, if you look at his debates, he always laughs at people because they base their ideology on their preferences.
Yeah.
But that's what he does.
Well, that's what everybody does, whether you want to admit it
Exactly.
or not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he laughs at that.
I get my worldview from my make-believe God. Anyway.
Yeah, which is kind of bullshit. I made a video about him, and like his arguments are not good.
I think I remember. Yeah, I remember. I think I watched some of it. I'll be honest. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I did watch a good deal, at least half. You know. So.
Did you watch my old one? My old one on
I don't know. Whatever pops up. I usually watch your videos. I do. Like when they pop up on my feed, bro. I'm like, oh, cool. It's it's Mr. Kai. Let's watch Mr. Kai. I like Mr. Kai's
content. My videos are not high quality, so I appreciate
They're
that.
All right. I think they're pretty good. They're at least worthy of like listening to. Like, I think that's good.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Yeah. Oh my God. But yeah, dude, I'm gonna start making videos. Do you like my videos?
Do you watch any of my videos?
Yeah, exactly.
Are they just
yeah, dude, I've seen your debates. Your debates are good.
Well,
I usually don't agree with you, but that's fun.
I've been doing like subtle edits now. Like now all of my videos, whenever there's like a pause or an or where people are like repeating themselves, I just move forward.
Get rid of it?
Yeah, I just remove that. So it's just the debate. It's much better.
It's better, but it's also so fucking like, what's the word? Annoying, not annoying, but like editing out every little thing is like so annoying.
No. I mean, dude, so I use Adobe Premiere, and one thing that I do is
tedious.
Yeah, so one thing that I do is, so there's this, I like fast forward it. I listen to it while it's fast forwarding. And so I just hear it going really, really fast. And then I'm just like, all right, there's a pause right there. And I just like quickly, like, just like, I use all the shortcut keys. So I'm just like, da. All right, next, keep going, keep going. And it's, so thankfully it's pretty quick. But yeah, it's yeah, for sure. It's more tedious than just uploading the debate as is.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Have you heard of Jay Dyer? Do you know who that is?
No.
Good for you, bro.
Should I care?
Good for you.
I don't watch.
Holy
a lot
shit!
Of
So okay,
YouTubers.
like, imagine this. Andrew Wilson, but more smug, dumber,
Oh, I love it.
and a more bad faith debater.
Oh, great! Awesome.
Wait, isn't
All
that Ding though?
I don't know. Is it?
Stink. I don't know. I think Stink Dink
I don't
just
know who
likes
that
to
guy
shit
was.
on me for fun.
Who is he?
They're
Was he
just,
just
they're
a
just like
Discord
a
guy?
they're just like a hate troll. They don't like me at all, and they just like to.
I mean,
fuck
imagine
with
Andrew Wilson, but more smug and stupider.
Oh, okay. I'm getting the picture.
me. It's hilarious.
Okay, wait, but this is something we would disagree on. I believe a Christian nationalist state is in the lesser of evil governments. It's
you
in the better
kidding?
form of governments. No, I'm not.
What? No.
No.
Revoke your anarchist card.
Anarchism?
No, you don't get to have
But he
anarchism.
hasn't finished because he didn't compare with something else. Because it's like it's better than, and then you have to say
Yeah.
better than what, right? Because it's better than the Earth being obliterated by nuclear bombs, right? So it's like
Yeah,
that isn't-
exactly.
All right.
It's
Trump's
good.
nuclear warfare.
Yeah.
No, because dude, I made a hierarchy. But like, listen, if you think about it, consequentially speaking, a Christian national state, they would probably have, well, you don't agree with this, but they would probably have lower taxes, less regulation. They would have
Oh my God.
laws
You're so
that
wrong.
make a little more sense. Hey, I'm not done, bro. I'm not done.
They
would have
they love tithing. What do you mean?
tithe.
Yeah.
But they just tax us. They wouldn't need to tithe unless they want to do
That's
that separately for
literally
some
what
extra
the
bonus.
tithing is.
It would be forced mandatory tithing.
Yes.
Mandatory church services would go crazy.
That's
Bro, do you
awful.
want to go to church together?
No,
we could,
no,
we could go
not
to
at all.
church
No,
together.
I don't believe in
Yo,
that
we go to the
nonsense.
Eastern Orthodox. Wait, let's go with Andrew Wilson, dude.
No,
Ortho church,
I'm
bro.
good.
We be Ortho Bros. Let's become Ortho Bros.
Ew. That's an actual
It'd
word.
be great.
Why is it like popular
bro?
to like do this like old fuddy-duddy nonsense?
Wait, I made that up. You don't like that, Ortho Bro?
Did somebody? Wait,
It's funny.
did you make that up?
I just
Or is
I
that
just
an
made it up.
actual? Or is that an actual thing? I feel like that's an actual.
No,
thing.
it's not.
Okay.
Wait, is it really?
I don't know. People are weird, man.
Has the sound
mean-
of an actual thing.
Yeah. I mean, it rolls off the tongue. Ortho Bro.
Yeah.
That's why it's good. Anyway, no, Christian nationalism. Wait. Christian nationalism is better than liberalism. Prove me wrong.
How are you an anarchist? No, you revoke that card. You don't get that card anymore.
Wait, because there's more free market. There's
No,
more free
there's
market. under
not.
Christian nationalism.
Then
Wait, prove it.
liberalism,
What do you mean? What are you talking about?
dude.
Yeah.
Can LGBTQ be in the market?
I mean, like they.
Yeah, no
they
shit.
can
Of course
just
they
put their
can't.
hood up. They can just put up
Yeah,
their
of
hood.
course they
bro.
can't. Of course they can't. What kind of
that's
Handmaid's
one
Tale
thing.
shit are you arguing?
That's one.
Oh
That's
my god,
one part
you're
of
an
it.
anarchist. Why
Yes,
are you
but I'm
arguing
looking
in
at the
favor of a
lesser evils.
theocracy?
I'm looking at the
That
lesser.
is
of
not the
evils.
lesser
Bro,
of
bro, bro, bro,
evils.
bro, bro,
That is
bro,
a
bro.
much worse
Okay.
evil.
Wait. Can we agree? on this?
Christian nationalism
Republicanism-
as opposed to a secular
wait.
society? What?
Wait.
How are you an
Republicanism-
anarchist?
Republicanism is better than democracy. No.
Republicanism is democracy. Oh my God.
No,
Why are
no,
people
no.
so uneducated about this?
wait,
Daniel,
this is
help.
not true, this is not true.
Daniel, please help
No, no,
me.
no.
Help.
No.
Help him. Help
Hold
him.
on, bro.
I've
Can he be helped?
Okay. Republicanism is better than democracy because democracy.
Republicanism
you take
is
all the
democracy.
people. No, it's
Well,
different.
actually,
There's
they're
direct
kind of-
It's a
democracy.
form of democracy.
But look.
It's-
It's like
I
when
agree
we
with
mean
you.
democracy. But look, when we mean democracy in the modern era, it's like we don't have to get stuck on like Athenian style democracy, right? That hasn't existed for 2,000 years. Okay, it's like it's useless to talk
It's
about a
just trash.
democracy that no longer exists, right? Like what
Yeah.
we have today in this world, like most countries are republics. Like for example, France is a republic, right? It's also a constitutional republic because they have a constitution, right? Not just a republic, a constitutional republic. And they're also a democracy, right? Because it's like these things just refer to like who's ruling. Do you have something that is passed on by heredity to like, to the next generations? And are people actually voting in the people that are representing them, right? And then you can define it. What type of democracy do you have? Do you have a representative democracy, which is like most countries, if not all countries that are democracies? Do you have a direct democracy, which happens in a very few places, right? Especially like small places. Yeah, those are things. But in the essence, it's like when people refer to republics today, colloquially, let's be very honest, it's like they do talk about democracies. There's no such a thing as a republic in today's age that's not also a democracy.
Yeah, I know. And Plato's Republic was a monarchy. So, like, I agree with you that, colloquially, language changes. But when I'm referring to democracy, I'm saying direct democracy, meaning all the people vote on, I don't know, like a policy or something, which is like extremely wasteful and stupid. And it won't work because a bunch of dumb people are going to vote for a bunch of dumb things. And, since the average IQ of the population is 100, it just wouldn't go well. So republicanism, when we have representatives, democratic or whatever, a representative democracy, whatever, is better slightly because you have slightly more qualified, albeit corrupt, people that vote for things that are generally good for the people. And I actually think the more democratic we get, because if you look at socialism is even more democratic than democracy. The more democratic you get, the worse it gets. And this is why Christian nationalism is actually better, because at the very least, the whole idea of like a philosopher king is better because he has more stake in the game than like a socialistic democracy in the workplace, because all those people are not thinking long term. So I'm right.
Yeah, but then
wrong.
we're going back to your previous thing where it's like the average IQ is 100, and the chances of getting a philosopher king are pretty slim compared to the regular king, which is kind of stupid.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. That's why it's an imperfect system. And that's why apostolic succession doesn't work. Oh shit, take that, Catholics. But
I mean, there is no perfect system, right, of governance that we know of.
But wait, I thought it was the lesser of two evils.
Ways to make it better. Yeah.
You said it was the lesser of two evils. As opposed to liberalism?
Yes!
Oh my god, you suck.
Look at our nation nowadays.
What about it?
It's your fault Trump's in office. It's your fault.
What?
You and your stupid liberal theology.
It's the No Child Left Behind Act and lead paint chips.
It's the No Child. Yeah, that's the problem. You care too much. You should have abandoned your empathy.
The No Child Left Behind Act and teaching by the test. That's why. That's unironically why I believe that. That and Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah.
I blame Rupert Murdoch. I blame No Child Left Behind. I blame teaching to the test. That and paint chips. And other lead-based products.
I gotta know. Okay. Socialism or Christian nationalism?
Socialism. This is not even close.
Bro, come on. Are you serious?
Not even close.
They would fall apart. They would eat each other.
I mean,
they
like,
would eat each other.
Maybe I'm a socialist.
But maybe, but it's like, what kind of socialism? Like, is it like Daniel's type of socialism where he's like, oh, I'm like a democratic socialist where I like argue for worker rights, but you could still have the private ownership of the means of production with co-ops. Like that is a much better society than Christian nationalism. Dude, do you know what happens with Christian nationalism?
Bad. The Crusade.
I'll tell you, yeah, the Crusades also infighting. Every freaking time.
Okay, but that's just a given.
Anytime you have a theocracy of any kind, it ends up deriving down into sects of specific views of the religion versus sects of another of the specific view of the religion, and then you end up with giant fighting, and then what ends up happening is that one guy ends up being more powerful than the others, and then they just kind of take over, and then the others are kind of left by the wayside, and then they're left bombing each other.
That's true. I mean, they're all kind of warlords.
Happens. Well,
the question is like, who's the most benevolent warlord?
maybe the liberal one, as opposed to the freaking nightmare theocratic crusade ass Andrew Wilson ass want to keep women in the kitchen ass person, maybe. Half the population doesn't deserve rights, I guess. Fuck that, dude.
Okay.
Fuck that. I don't like that.
Okay, wait. Communism or Christian nationalism?
These are both awful. Awful.
Come on, bro.
Is it in a world where communism is even possible?
How about we do yes?
Then yeah, communism. Yeah, communism sounds great.
I guess I'm giving you the answer if I just say yes to communism.
No,
wait,
I'm just saying,
dude,
you said like
was...
like I don't believe communism is possible. Right? Like,
yeah, I agree with you.
I just think that like hierarchies are just going to exist, and it's like you're never going to divorce out of that. But like if you predicate that like, oh, it's possible that communism could even exist, and the classless, moneyless, stateless society, like you're basically just arguing Star Trek. Like, would you like
That's
Star
true.
Trek to exist? Yeah, I kind of would. That'd be kind of cool.
Star Trek would be pretty dope. But wait. Here's my point, and like the point I think you should get. If we were like capitalist pigs, okay, 100% capitalist pigs, we would build so much wealth that first of all, the trillionaires would just launch themselves to another planet, and we would get this planet, and we wouldn't even have to look at them.
Just so you're aware,
And then we'd be so rich.
I don't know.
From the trickle down economics.
I am not. What? No, I'm not against there being rich people. I just think that rich people should pay their fair share.
Okay, yeah. Pay their fair share, yeah. Do the old Biden slogan. The old Bernie slogan.
Yeah. Pay your fair share, yeah. Dude, you realize that like a majority of what these people go through, they're actually paying less in taxes than just like your regular average everyday Joe, because like a majority of the taxes
because they set up the system
goes into capital gains, and they only pay 15%. Like,
bro, because they control the system.
Imagine making like, I don't know, $4 million worth of dividends, and you just pay 15% on that. Like, what?
Yeah, I mean it's still a shit ton of money, but
$4 million a year is an obscene amount of money.
Well, hold on.
I
think it's after 400K goes. Hold on. After 400K, I think it goes to 20%.
No. It's a capital gains tax.
Yeah, I know. Capital gains hits 20% at 400K.
$4 million in capital gains. The capital gains tax on that $4 million is not a progressive tax rate. It's just 15%.
No, wait. It's 0, 15, and 20. Right?
No, it's 15.
I think it's 0, 15,
you
and
would
20.
only pay.
What are you?
That's 15.
What?
You would pay $600K out of $4 million. That's what you'd pay. You owe that, and no more.
Wait, has this changed? I researched this in like the last 2 years. I'm so sure that capital gains tax is 0, 15, and 20.
No matter whatever. If it's $1, it's 15%. If it's $100,000, it's 15%.
The fuck are you talking about, bro?
I'm not messing with you.
Wait. Capital gains tax bracket. There you go. Okay. I mean, we all agree that Google is true, and okay, yep, here it is. Long-term capital gains tax.
Okay, there's a difference between
profits
short-term
from
and long-term. I'll grant you that.
Okay, well, wait. Short-term capital gains tax is literally just income. It's just normal income.
Yeah.
Anyway, so long-term is 0, 15, and 20% depending on your income level. Now, if I remember it correctly, 0% is 0 to 40,000.
All right,
and
so
then
it does
15
look like
is 40 to 400K.
So it does look like I'm wrong. I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong here.
In real time, baby.
Net capital gains tax are different rates depending on overall taxable income, although all net capital gain may be taxed at 0%. For taxable years beginning in 2024, tax rate on most net capital gain is no higher than 15% for most individuals. So basically, a capital gains tax rate of 15% applies if your taxable income is more than 47,000, but less than or equal to 518,900 single. If it is more than $47,025, but less than or equal to 291,850 for marrying filed separately, more than 94,050, but less than or equal to 583,750 if married joint filing or qualifies as a surviving spouse, and more than 63,000, but less than or equal to 551,000 for heads of household. However, capital gains tax rate of 20% applies to the extent that your taxable income exceeds the threshold set for 15% capital gains rate. Well, guess what? Under the progressive tax rate system, it's higher than that. So, okay, you were right. If it was 4 million, it wouldn't be 15%. It would be 20%.
20, that's right. Give them that 5%, buddy. Also, I have a question for you.
That's still less.
I have a question for you.
What, like a regular person?
How does it make you feel that they're discriminating against incels? How does that make you feel?
What?
The single income bracket is higher than the married. How does that make you feel that they're discriminating against incels? Tell me, how does that make you feel?
People like Andrew Tate can make more money.
But what about the incels who can't get married? Huh? What about them?
That's what I'm saying. There, people like Andrew Tate can make more money.
Oh, you're saying Andrew Tate's incel. Well, that's funny, but yeah, it's not true. Right.
Why does that matter? Why is that
I don't know. I feel like you totally pivoted from my question in referencing Andrew Tate. That was a total pivot right there. You didn't tell me how you felt, and therefore you lied.
Why do people keep
bad faith?
Are you trying to be stink right now?
Well, I have to raise my voice up to do that. Okay, hold on. I can't do that.
No, my name is Stink. You're a stinky poo head.
Wait. Wait, the red pill's true. But where is it? That's the question.
It's in my closet.
Wait, are you against the red pill?
I have it in my closet. Yeah, what?
Bro, the red pill's kind of based, don't you think?
No, it's not. Do you like the red pill?
Yeah, of course, bro. It's based.
Anarchist. Stop being an anarchist.
What are you talking about? Wait. What red pill ideology?
How dare you call yourself an anarchist?
Well, I'm the true anarchist because I believe in natural hierarchy.
You just argued for theocracy and the red pill. No, you're not.
It was the lesser of two evils, and the red pill doesn't advocate for a state. Is
it them being young? It's got to be them being young. Is it them being young? Daniel, is it them being young?
I
think it's them being young. I think that's what this is. Andrew Tate has poisoned an entire generation. I'm convinced of that.
Yeah. I can do that. Yes.
I'm so convinced of that. They're just like, whoa, hating women? Based. Whoa, based. Oh, God, liberalism? Oh, being like cool to people and like not being like a total douchebag? Oh, bro, unbased, uncool.
I mean, that was kind of liberals' fault because they basically said
how is that liberals' fault?
Because... Okay, liberal women's fault. Okay, how about that? They kept saying men are shit, and then men are like,
well, they kind of are totally a lot of the time. Like, unironically, guys suck a lot. Like, you know what's wild is that they all say that women are too emotional, yet are completely driven by their emotions of aggression. Totally not acknowledging that both men and women are absolutely emotional creatures.
Well, the funny thing is the men who type that in the chat are probably the emotional ones, but...
100%.
But yeah. But that's not to say that most men... I mean, okay, probably most men are emotional, but I mean... women are more emotional?
No, I disagree. I think that women are more
stoic.
I think probably more appropriate would be to say women are more in tune with their emotions. That's what I think it is. Yeah. But like men
feminist of you to say.
They're just as emotional. They just show their emotion in different ways. Like women will cry, men will break things.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, are you
Women
not
don't
going to
do
break
that.
something?
No, not me personally. No, I don't do it. Unless, of course, if I'm playing League of Legends, in which case, yes.
Yeah. Well, then you have to go through a few mouses, a few keyboards once in a while.
I don't. Yeah.
Especially when you get kicked.
This
to
is why I
silver,
don't play League of Legends.
Yeah.
dude, I keep
A
dying
whole
in this game.
generation is poisoned. But no, dude, the red pill's all right. Like if you think about it, it's just telling people to respect themselves and respect women.
It doesn't. It argues the opposite of that. Are you being serious?
Okay. Wait. What if I told you, and what if you believed me? What if I told you that like only 10% of the red pill community was actually red pill, and like 90% of it was like grifters? Would you believe me?
Oh, you mean like Flat Earth? Yeah.
Who? Because I listen to more of the older, who you still definitely would not agree with, but some of the more like originators in the red pill community, some of the older guys who like, I don't know, who are on the old forums and stuff. And because they say some good stuff, bro. I highly recommend it.
Like what?
Like
love?
yeah, what do they? Daniel, help me out. Islam? Yeah, exactly.
Hate is love, love is hate.
Women
should be in the kitchen.
And like
barefoot,
just pulling
having
up like
children.
what do they like, or what are the gender realism and sexual hierarchies? Men are dominant, logical, and driven by sex, and women are emotional, hypergamous, and driven by security. How is that based?
I'm just kidding.
Do you think
bro.
women can't be sexual? Do you think women can't be logical? Can women be dominant?
Sure
they can be all of those things. Can men be emotional? Can they be hypergamous? Can they be driven by security? Yeah. In fact, I'm super driven by security. 100%.
All right, but think about this.
When you get older, you're like, bro, I need everything to be like down pat. Right?
Women is gay. Women is gay. Exactly.
Yeah, dating women is very gay.
Liking women is the gayest thing you can do.
The belief that women seek to date up in terms of status, wealth, or attractiveness, and will abandon men who do not fulfill their desires. Women always seek to date up in terms of status, wealth, or attractiveness. That's weird.
That's kind of true. You would say that's true, right?
No.
What do you mean no?
No, just have like a personality that people like.
Bro, if you were the same way, but there was a version of you that had a six-pack, who do you think the girl would go for?
I mean, I suppose they'll go for the one with the six-pack that has the same exact personality, but having a good personality goes a really long way. Like, unironically,
I agree with you, but I think it's a confluence of factors.
Listen, if you want to do well on a date, I'm going to tell you the fucking secret. You ready for the secret? This is so fucking easy. It's the easiest thing you could possibly do. Ready? All right, here you go.
I need to go.
Here you go. You ready? Here's how you do it. You ready? You ready?
Uh-huh. I am.
Listen to what she says and then reciprocate what she says. And be genuine about it. Be genuine and nice about it. Like what you do is, right, is you actually try to be interested in what they're interested in. And then you just let them talk and then you reciprocate. That's it, dude. That's it.
That is very gay of you, though.
Date three, you are in her bed. Date 3, I promise you.
Bro.
Yeah.
Bro, look, you're a red pillar, bro.
That's not a red pillar. I'm just saying, like, just talking, like, don't you sit there and try and talk about yourself the whole time. Just talk about them.
I heard smile and wave. And yeah, I heard smile and wave. That's what I heard.
Hi.
And then
So
day 3,
what are you into?
win.
And then when they start talking about what they're into, you reciprocate what they're into.
What
Don't
are
make
you
it about
into?
you. Just talk about them. And then boom, it's like magic. It's like magic. Everybody likes it when you talk about them. Wow.
Bro, you have to make a red pill channel. What are you doing? You have to make a red pill channel.
It's not a red pill.
You're missing out.
That's just basic.
You're missing out on the
advice.
big bucks. What are you
It's just
doing?
basic dating advice. It's stupid.
You're missing out on the big bucks.
Let's see what else. The sexual marketplace. Dating and relationships are viewed as a marketplace.
Oh, come on, that's
where
true.
People,
That's just obviously true.
No.
Come on.
No,
Oh,
just
come
like
on.
have like a likable personality. All of this goes away
I mean, that's like
by
one
like being
thing.
a likable person.
Yeah, okay, that's one thing.
No,
You gotta have
that's
more
the
than that.
thing.
No.
Yes. Daniel, dude, someone please. Am I
But
wrong?
women like.
I
There's
know,
no
man.
way I'm
They
wrong.
make
I'm
a
not
lot of
wrong.
sense to me, you know? As a 45-year-old guy that's married with 2 kids, that makes a lot of sense if you want to stay a virgin.
I.
Wait, what I
Yeah,
said?
but you smile and wave a lot.
No, their ideology.
Yeah.
If you want to stay a virgin, just believe all those things. It's
All right.
Just believe in like the sexual
Feminism
marketplace.
is destructive. Red pill communities argue that feminism has brainwashed society, made women entitled, and destroyed traditional relationships. I got news for you. If you bring this up in a date, you're done. That is surefire way where a girl goes, I gotta get the fuck out of here.
I can't talk about how alpha I am?
No,
Are you serious?
no, yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, but you don't see the upside, Amanda.
Don't do that.
Wait, you
Definitely
want to hear
don't do
about
that.
my alpha stories?
Don't do that. Don't do that.
How I mocked a boy at the gym, you know?
Okay, let's see here. Men are disadvantaged in modern society. Belief that men are fairly treated in family court, education, and domestic abuse cases. That might be true if you're like talking about 2012. But honestly, at the end of the day, when it comes to like things like custody battles, ultimately what matters is like what's beneficial to the child. And trust me, if the mother is like abusive in any way, they're definitely going to side with you. Like they're just going to side with you, period. So no, wrong. Let's see here. Alpha beta dichotomy. This is so gross. Like just be like a
Yes,
person.
the good stuff.
Oh, they forgot the
Eh.
sigma or what?
The sigma.
Brother.
sigma, bro.
What's that?
That's very old school. with
What's
the
that,
alpha,
brother?
beta.
Nah,
Brother,
dude.
Is omega or no? It's a sigma.
No, just
It's
stop.
sigma.
Just
Sigma,
stop.
yes.
Just not. If anybody who says
What's the
an
omega
alpha
now?
is never going to use the words alpha and beta. They're just never going to do that.
Dude.
They're just going to like be a person and then that's it.
A
That's
few
the whole
more
thing.
Greek letters, and they will be good at calculus. Okay.
Yeah. It's just
At calculus?
Yes.
Wait, I suck at math. Is that a problem?
That's their long-term project. You know, getting
you know,
all the answers to
red,
be really good
red pill.
mathematicians.
You better be good at math
Save
if
the
you
world.
plan on getting the girl.
Fuck. It's over for me, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Like if you're like, let's say for example, if you're taking her home, right?
Yeah.
And you're walking down the sidewalk and then there's like
Yeah.
the right angle curve to her house. If you did not take the hypotenuse, you're never getting in her.
Wait, which side is the hypotenuse? Daniel, which side is the hypotenuse?
The long one.
I'm blanking, bro.
The long one.
The long one. Wait, which one's the long one? Isn't the hypotenuse?
What do you mean? The hypotenuse is the longest segment in a.
Oh, wait, is the hypotenuse
here,
the
I'll show
longest
you.
line in the
I'll
triangle?
show,
wing,
here, no, I'll show you. I'll
triangle,
show you. I'll
yes.
show you the picture. I'll show you the picture. Hold on.
Wait, I know what a right angle is. It's like 45 degrees, right?
I'll
It's like
show
a
you the
box.
picture.
No, it's
Hold
90
on.
degrees.
Hold on. I'll show you the picture. Where the fuck is it?
You really are bad at math. You're
Yeah,
not
look.
joking.
You're bad at math.
All right, here. I'll show you. This is really funny. Do you guys see my? Here, I'm going to show you.
Yes.
Why is it doing that? Why would it do such a thing? Why is it tiny?
Just like make it bigger.
No, that's incorrect. No,
That's
it's
what
wrong.
you said.
That's wrong. That's wrong. Hold on, I gotta do it again. Hold on.
Just cover your face.
Hold on.
That's what she said also.
There it is.
Haha.
Look.
That's what he said to her. No, it's not. He wouldn't want that.
What do you think of the comic?
Okay, that looks like a radius.
No.
Wait, what's
What?
happening?
Radius.
What radius?
Wait, tell me I'm wrong.
You're never gonna get a girl
You are wrong.
trying to bring it up. Radius is it a triangle?
Ugh, there goes that. Nice, dude.
There goes Pythagoras.
That's
that
really
guy.
funny. This is really funny.
This is a joke that's
This is so funny.
And you
dude.
say I'm never gonna get a girlfriend,
That's
bro.
for nerds.
No, I
that's
was
a nerd
saying, I was
joke.
saying,
Come on.
I was saying, if you're taking her home and then you're walking down the sidewalk and then you have to like turn down the sidewalk in that 90-degree angle, if you're not taking the hypotenuse, you're never getting in her pants.
But trust me, if you have a big dick, it doesn't matter what you're
You
taking.
just gotta, yeah.
It doesn't matter the hypotenuse says you do. Wait, how would you know? I'm just kidding.
She will know.
You see that?
She
You see,
will
that's
know.
exactly the question of somebody that
She
doesn't have
will-
a big dick.
He,
Okay?
he
Because if
will
you have a
know.
big dick, she will know.
She
Okay.
will know.
She will know.
Nobody that has a big dick
Oh my
ever
God.
questions whether or not she will know. She
It's
will
all,
know.
I'm telling you, man, your foreplay game goes a long way. That's the move. That's the move. And I'm sticking to it.
Are you so
That's the move.
if I'm a nice guy, do I get a girlfriend? Is that how it goes?
I didn't say anything about being a nice guy. Don't be a pushover. Nobody likes a pushover. Like, obviously, you're not a pushover.
Oh, okay.
I'm not arguing. Go be a pushover and just only say nice things to her. Just literally just talk about her. She'll be happy. Right?
Okay, I'll talk to her.
Just
I'll talk about her.
yeah, like don't talk about your interest. Talk about what she's into. Right? And if you don't know about the interest,
Yeah.
Got it.
try
So
to
talk about
learn.
making
Try to
sandwiches,
learn
okay.
about the interest.
Appeal to
Like,
her narcissism.
I'll try to-
Okay.
Got it.
Dude,
So,
everybody
we'll
has a
making
certain level.
sandwiches,
There's
okay.
a certain
Got
level.
Of course.
The only way that this wouldn't work is if, like, I don't know, they're like hyper intelligent and they're just going to be like, I'm not. Why are you talking to me like? Like they might ask you more about yourself. In which case, talk about yourself if they ask for it.
No, I gotta redirect conversation back to her. Obviously.
Well, no. If they're asking about you, talk about yourself. But yeah, then
Okay, I'll tell her about my kitty ratio.
You know,
and
do
Modern
it
Warfare 3.
briefly and then talk about her some more.
Got it.
Right. And be
I mean,
and try to be
I think-
be genuine. Don't be like, oh wow, that's so interesting, and be like not interested at all.
Got it. So
You know?
fake interest, even better. Got it.
No.
I mean, that could be a good advice also. It's like if you're really good at faking
You could,
the
you
interest,
could
then,
technically
yeah.
fake it and it would still work. But it works better if you try to be genuine.
Oh, it's just simpler.
That's true.
You know?
Okay.
That's all.
Try my
That's
best to be
Sigma
genuine.
energy to
And if it doesn't
just
work.
lie. I guess.
There you go.
Just like be a
Yeah, the
literal,
Sigma.
Sigma energy.
just be like a literal fucking sociopath, I guess.
Exactly.
I gotta talk about her so that way I get into her pants.
Exactly.
You can't like talk about
But I
them
mean-
like they're a person.
Yeah, who would do that? It's a woman, bro.
Well, you're laughing, but there's people even in this server that probably don't think women are actual humans.
It's terrible.
Well,
I mean, no, red pill.
I mean-
oh god, my
I
red
can
pills.
say it. Gotta take my red pills.
I gotta get you my red pills. You guys
I don't
ever
know.
seen? You
I
guys
think-
ever seen The Matrix?
I think it's a great analogy. What are you talking about?
So
It's a
stupid.
great analogy.
Anytime I hear somebody bring
it's
up
just-
The Matrix, like philosophically, I'm just like, bro, kill me. Actually, just kill me.
I mean, philosophically speaking, it's just the brain in the vat, right? Like that's just what it is.
Well, not really. It's Descartes' demon more.
Yeah, but Descartes' demon and
Damn
the
it.
brain in the vat
Damn it.
aren't super different.
They kind of are.
Mano, you suck. You suck at
I'm
living.
trying.
No, that game looks hard.
It's 'cause
No,
of
it's just a man. They're not being that good.
Shut up, Daniel.
Look, you died. You made him die. That's funny.
What
You see
says
somebody that's good
my
at the
big
game
dick
wouldn't die in
causes
those
pain for some women, so there's a balance.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
big dick.
For sure, bro. For sure. Oh god. No, okay, so here I think the red pill is good for men who don't who romanticize women.
No, I think the red pill is a fucking nightmare, and run as far as you can.
Well, it depends who you listen to, because some of them are wrong. Some of them are
it's just
women bad.
The whole thing is just awful.
No, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah,
I can't do it.
Yeah, like it's like literally a vat of fucking acid, and you're just like bathwater. Like you're like the worst thing ever.
Some good particles.
And you're just like, this is fine, I think.
There's still some good particles.
You can chemically break it down into H3.
Now, look, if somebody tells you, when you're talking about red pill, if they tell you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, you just have to tell them, like, honey, that's not water, that's sulfuric acid, and the baby is already dissolved in it.
Okay. So the baby and the acid are one now.
Yeah, it's like
called
a solution.
I mean,
right?
dude,
it's like a chemical solution.
I don't think you realize how bad like the red pill
has nothing to do with
really
osmosis.
is.
It's
literally a nightmare. It's awful.
As a chemist, you're triggering me if you're doing that, please.
That's the one thing I remember from my lab in college is like osmosis. I don't even remember what it means. Isn't osmosis the opposite of dilution?
No, it has nothing to do with it. It's about the transfer of substances through a membrane that's only permeable to like specific types of substances, right? So, for example, you could have a solution, let's say, of water and table salt, right?
I triggered him.
And you could have a membrane, and when that solution of water and table salt passes through the membrane, only the water passes, but the salt is actually being retained. The table salt, is being retained on the other side, right? So it's like when the solution is passing through that membrane, you're going to have water on one side and the table salt on the other.
That's so useful.
Well, it is. It's happening in our bodies all the time.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I said it.
Oh my god. This guy keeps disappearing.
Anyway, so yeah, the red pill's cool.
Awful.
Yeah. No, true. All right. Well, I mean, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I know you're doing a call and show and all that stuff.
I mean, the show's pretty much over, but.
Yep.
Yeah, we kind of took up all the time,
Okay.
I took up all the time,
it's
didn't
okay. I have unprompted days. We have more of these.
That's good.
We have plenty of these. Huh? Yeah, anybody can
That's
call
true.
in.
Every Thursday.
Every Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard. I keep dying to this thing.
EC. Well, listen, dude, it's your fault for playing a video game while talking to people. You're a man. You can't multitask. That's for women.
That's not true. That is not true. I can absolutely play a game
sure.
while. It just it depends on the game. It's entirely dependent on the game. A game like Hollow Knight, I can kind of like just use like the motor skills and just kind of like turn brain off.
Yeah, it's a little instinctual. I could see that.
Fuck. And by instinctual, I mean like I instinctually suck ass at these games.
Did you play the League game that was what was this? It's not a side scroller, but it's like a top down shooter. Did you remember that, the League game that came out? Did you ever play that?
No.
Oh, it was like a top down. It's not like Hollow Knight. It's like one of those like Brotato. You ever heard of Brotato?
No.
Bro, it's Daniel. Explain. Use osmosis.
What? What do you mean?
Okay, it's like a top-down shooter where it's like you're looking down on them and they're shooting.
Yeah, I know Brotato. It's
Yeah.
BRB,
So like, there's a league
give me
version
a
of
quick
that.
second. So here's the thing, right? We're gonna hang up this call, and I'm gonna take one more call for tonight. So
Yeah.
in fact, I just have to use the bathroom real quick. Okay, hang tight.
Okay, well, let me say my goodbyes. Don't leave. Okay.
Well,
It
I
was
can still
good
hear
talking
you.
to you, bro.
It was good talking to you too.
Huh?
All right, go ahead. Say your goodbyes. I gotta go to the bathroom.
You can leave if you can hear me. Yep. So thanks for having me on. As you all know, First Amender, a proud Christian nationalist, is doing his best to preach to us the wise ways of the world, and he's trying to help us become a more Christian nation. He has divine revelation, and because of this, he wants to forward us towards the nation that God wants for us. He's sort of like
brother.
King Solomon. He's sort of like King Solomon in that way, where
Hallelujah.
he had a mean dad, but he overcame all that. And he's doing good for society, and he's joining with the Eastern Ortho Bros, and I will be joining him shortly because the way, the truth, and the life is where we're headed.
He is orthopilled. Yeah, that's for sure.
Orthopilled. Yo, that's a good one. All right. Peace.
Don't steal it.
Peace, bro. I won't. Not in my next video. Peace.
Yeah.
All right. That was horrendous. The part where he called me a Christian nationalist. Holy shit. That was Mr. Kai, everybody.
Well, the truth hurts sometimes.
What was it? What was even there? It was like discussion. We just discussed random stuff. Okay, we'll turn on the phone for just a moment. And if we don't get anything, then we'll stop. All right. Phones are open. Call in. Call in. Now's your chance. You can call. Call a number. 202-998-5218. Let's see if I can beat this boss in time. The only reason why I'm deciding to take another call is because thankfully I have no work tomorrow. So I could sleep in.
Okay.
4th of July.
Traveling tomorrow.
Are you?
Oh yeah, that's true.
Oh,
Well-
did you know I'm going to Amsterdam?
No. When are you going to Amsterdam?
I'm going there for between August 2nd to August 10th.
Well, it's a nice city. You're gonna like it. Very different from what you have in the USA.
Yeah, can't wait. No.
From what I've seen, a lot of bikes, by the way.
Into it.
A lot of bikes.
I need it. Oh my god, dude, I'm getting shreked. I'm getting shreked, bro.
Yeah, I can see that. It's a pretty hard boss.
Is it? I don't think he's that hard. I think it's doable. Just gotta find him.
Oh no, for you, I mean.
Yes. Fuck you. Oh my god. Dude, where is he?
It's just a matter of timing. That's it.
This is insane.
Yeah, kind of.
All right. We're not getting any phone calls, so I think that'll be it for today. Thank you all very much for joining. If you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. Thank you very much. We will have more of these.